Adequate notice of this meeting was provided and published in the Asbury Park Press on January 6, 2014. Copies of the agenda were provided to the newspaper, posted on public bulletin boards and the Township website.
At this time, please turn off all your cell phones, which I am remembering to do right now myself.
Got it.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Here.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Here.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Here.
Councilman Mumolo.
Here.
Councilwoman Pontorero, sorry.
That's okay. Here.
Vice President Fosman.
Here.
President Lydecker.
Here. At this time, we're going to do our salute to the flag and the Pledge of Allegiance, but first I'd like to call up Boy Scout Troop 6 with their badge counselor, Chaz Harvey, and he's going to give us a brief overview of what the troop is working on now. Mr. Harvey, I'm sorry, could you please come to the microphone? Thank you. We want everyone to hear.
Yeah, these scouts are working on their merit badge for citizenship, community, nation, and world. And there are 3 of the required merit badges for their Eagle Scout eventually. So they're here tonight to witness. This is part of one of the requirements to come to the township meeting.
Thank you very much. Would one of you gentlemen like to grab the microphone and lead us in the pledge?
Painful for him.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in. Good luck with your badges. Okay, we need to approve the minutes of the March 18th, 2014 meeting. Motion and second, please.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman DeYoung, seconded by Councilwoman Pontorero. Roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Here.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Yes, sorry.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Here, yes.
Councilman Mumolo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Lydecker.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and we will begin our presentations. I turn the microphone to Mayor Ducey for his 100-day plan explanation.
Thank you, Council President. Just because of the length of the meeting, and there's 9 budget presentations, and then mine, introduction of the budget, I figured I would not do that tonight. I'd wait for the next council meeting when we have a little bit less on the agenda.
Well, we will invite you back at the next council meeting.
Thank you.
At this time, I would like to bring up Ms. Mary Ann Butler from the Brick Women's Club to speak to us about Child Abuse Prevention Month, please.
Thank you. April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, or Child Abuse Awareness Month, and the Women's Clubs of New Jersey have, this is one of our projects, state projects, to make people aware of child abuse. You know, I was thinking on the way over here, people are so outraged when they find out that an animal has been abused, and they get very proactive. But for some reason, we hesitate when it comes to children, whether people are afraid of interfering in someone's family, or they're afraid of retribution, or what have you. They seem to hesitate when it comes to reporting child abuse, and it's so important nowadays. We've had far too many young children die at the hands of those people who are supposed to love and protect them and provide for them. So we take this opportunity in April to ask all of the mayors and councils across the state of New Jersey to come out with proclamations and resolutions to make people aware of the problem, and to ask everybody to, you know, open your eyes. Don't be afraid. If you suspect a child is being neglected or abused, please, please report it before it's too late. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have one more present. Oh, yes. Oh, I apologize. Thank you.
month of April is annually designated as Child Abuse Prevention Month, and it gives us all a chance to renew our commitment to protecting children and preventing and responding to child abuse and neglect, promoting healthy families and building a better future for all Americans. In 2011, approximately 681,000 children were found to be victims of abuse or neglect, and 3.3 million children in the United States receive preventative services from Child Protective Services agencies. It's critical that community organizations such as yours, government resources, and others come together to form a network of support that can reach out to those in need and identify the signs of child abuse. Therefore, I, John G. Ducey, Mayor of the Township of Brick, and the County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2014 to be Child Abuse Prevention Month. And we present that to your organization for doing such a good job bringing that issue to all of our attentions.
Councilwoman?
If I could just say something, as a foster parent, I've been a foster parent at this point for about 8 different children during the last 8 or 9 years, and having adopted children through the DCP&P system, I can echo the sentiments of Mary Ann in terms of how important it is for everyone to know that child abuse doesn't just happen in North Jersey, in another state. It's happening here, it's happening locally, and it needs to be reported. So if you do notice any signs of child abuse, whether you're in a grocery store, whether you're at a daycare, 877-NJ-ABUSE is the number that you call to make that report. And anyone who's interested in becoming a foster parent for DCP&P and taking in these little ones who have been the victims of trauma or abuse, you can contact me directly, and I'll put you in contact with the right resources so that you can as well volunteer. Thank you so much for your efforts.
Thank you. We did add one other item. Brick Rotary is having their Walk for Humanity, and we have invited Kathy Lindenbaum and Ginger Reinhold to come and speak about this event.
Good evening, I'm Ginger Reinhold. This is Kathy Lindenbaum. I'm the Vice President of the Brick Rotary, Luncheon Rotary. We have a morning Rotary and an afternoon. We got together because we wanted to do something that was community-wide this year. So our president came up with doing what he calls a Walk for Humanity. What that is anybody can come out and walk. We're going to be at the Drum Point Complex. You walk 3 miles. And you can donate and give your money to any 501c3 charity. So if you want to walk for the Kidney Foundation, your money would go there. If you want to walk for Relay for Life, they can get together, get a team together, and we would take the money, and in turn, we would then write the check and give it back to whomever it is you want. So it can be as long as it's a 501c3, you can walk for just about anybody. It's this Saturday, April 5th. Like I said, it's at the Drum Point Complex. Registration is at 8 o'clock, if I'm correct? 8 o'clock to 10. The walk is 10 to 12. In the morning, Chick-fil-A is giving a little bit of something to eat to everybody. At 2 o'clock, Carrabba's is donating food for everybody after they walk. We also have at the high school, the Interact kids in both high schools and the Interact kids in both middle school are giving out water as everyone walks around the complex there. So this is a huge event. We've tried to get everybody together. We hope it's a success. It may start out small, but hopefully we end up, year to year, bigger and bigger. So it's really something for everyone to get together. That's the whole idea of it. So that's pretty much it, I think. I don't know if you have any questions. I'm sure you don't. I think I gave you everything. And I just want to say to you, a belated congratulations. I think it was a good pick.
Thank you.
Other than that, thank you very much for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, ladies. I hope you have a great turnout.
Thank you.
Okay. We do have an ordinance on the first reading. There's no public hearing on the first reading.
Calendar year 2014 ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank. NJSA 40A:4-45.14.
Thank you very much. Ms. Bergen, can you please give us an explanation?
Certainly, thank you. This allows the township to bank the difference between 0.5% and 3.5% of the previous year's final appropriations. The township has done this consistently each year to provide a bank of funds available to us to use in case it is needed. This is not an obligation to spend these funds. It only allows the township to have it in this cap bank.
Thank you very much. Motion and second.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman DeYoung, seconded by Council Vice President Bosman. Roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Momolo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontoriero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes. We have a resolution to introduce the 2014 municipal budget. Motion and second, please.
Make a motion?
Second.
Motion made by Council Vice President Bosman, seconded by Councilwoman DeYoung. Do we want to wait for discussion on this during the presentation? Would that be most beneficial for everyone? Okay. I'm going to open this to the public, but again, the budget technically hasn't been introduced or discussed, so any questions you may have, we can wait until after if you prefer. Is there anyone from the public that would like to be heard right now? Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Momolo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontoriero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes. Mayor Ducey, do you have a presentation you'd like to give?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I'm proud to say that the 2014 municipal budget is $3.3 million lower than the 2013 budget. The 2014 proposed budget is $97.3 million, down from $100.7 million. I would like to thank all of the department and all of the division heads who have been working to rein in the costs in accordance with the goals of this administration. So far this year, we've eliminated 3 deputy director positions that were created by the previous administration, saving over $500,000 in salaries and benefits. We have started an aggressive program to reduce overtime costs. We have reduced legal fees in several departments. We are reviewing all of our fee structures and collections from construction code to court fines, ambulance services, recreation. The reason why we're doing this is to make sure we are capturing the appropriate amount of fees for the services that are provided. The fees haven't been looked at in many, many years. We've done that fee restructuring without reducing any services to the residents of Brick Township. This year's tax levy is $67.9 million, which calls for an increase of 2.6 cents on the municipal tax rate. This year's budget is well within Governor Christie's 2% tax levy cap. The increase puts the levy at the same level that it was at in 2011 and 2012. Last year, the township received a $5 million grant that allowed us to maintain a stable tax rate from 2012 while decreasing the levy to reflect the impact of Sandy. This year, we didn't have that grant available to us because the previous administration opted to spend the entire grant in 1 year, all $5 million of it last year. The federal grant allowed you to spread that out over 3 years because they had an idea that the impact of Sandy would last longer than 1 year, which it obviously has, as we all know. There's many, many people that are not back in their houses, but we had used, the town used, the previous administration, all $5 million of that grant last year. Instead of spreading it out over 3 years. So now the facts are the impact of Sandy on this budget this year is $6.1 million. And what that includes is over $4 million in Sandy recovery costs and also $2 million in lost tax revenue due to destroyed homes and businesses. So technically, we started this budget process managing about a $6 million shortfall in our budget due to the ongoing impact of Sandy. As homes and businesses are rebuilt and put back on the tax rolls, the shortfall is going to decrease, but this is going to take years. It wasn't a 1 year fix. It's not going to be a 2 year fix. we're looking at 3, 4, 5 years before, everybody's able to get back into their homes or, have the homes raised. There's a number of different issues with flood insurance that are out there, as I've spoken about on different issues that I won't get into in my budget presentation. This year's budget also includes over $12 million in debt service. And I want to point out that our debt level increased from only $90 million in 2007 to $168 million last year, an increase of $78 million over that time period. Starting this year, we are implementing a 4-year debt reduction plan, and the plan will reduce our net debt by over $6.5 million. We're still going to do things. We're still going to be able to build parks, maintain roads, upgrade equipment that we need in order to keep our town safe and clean and keep it as great as it is. But we're going to cut back on lavish spending, such as Traders Cove, which cost $22 million, which, as we all know, is more than the Blue Claw Stadium cost. So the net reduction on spending of our debt service will go down $6.5 million in my 4 years here. This year, we have a $7 million surplus balance, which is great. Back in 2010, the Brick Township only had $48,724 in our surplus balance. We now have, with this budget, that if it does pass, it's $7 million. Having a significant surplus balance helps the township's bond rating, which helps us get lower interest rates. It also provides a rainy day fund and cash flow for the township. So just as if you don't want to, run your household savings or checking to zero, we want to have a surplus available in the event of any future emergencies or future disasters, including the amount of snow that we had this year. Luckily, we had a snow trust fund that the council had created over the last 2 years, which was able to offset a lot of the cost of those storms because we had so many of them this year. And that's why it's important to have a surplus. And again, it's up to $7 million that we have if this budget is passed. So I'd like to thank you, Council President Leidecker, for giving me the opportunity to present the budget to the council tonight. This year's budget is a fiscally sound one that puts Brick Township on a path towards a more fiscally strong and responsible future. I'm confident that the council will review this budget thoroughly to streamline it even further in accordance with your visions for the township. And my office and staff are available to you as you review the budget and make recommendations. So thank you very much.
Thank you, that was very informative. Would any of the council members like to comment? I didn't think so. I think he covered just about everything. At this time, I'd like to start our normal budget presentation for 2014, and I'm going to ask our CFO, Scott Pizzaris, to please join us.
Good evening, all. I'm going to be presenting budgets for the division of the clerk's office, mayor's office, administration, tax assessor, tax collector, purchasing, finance, human resources, and last but not least, data processing. In accordance with the president's suggestion on changing budget presentations, which I thought was a good one, it focuses primarily on the main crux of the driving factors in each of the division's budgets. And starting with the clerk and archives division, the same number of employees is running the office is this year as last year. It's 8 employees, 2 of which work down in the archives division and 6 which work in the office of the clerk, with Lynette Iannarone being the clerk of the township. The salary and wage account is going up from 2013's number of $566,750 as modified in the 2013 budget by $20,000 to $586,750, or an increase of 3.53%. Overtime in this division is increasing from $20,500 to $25,000, a increase of $4,500 or 21.95%. and this is based upon historical overtime that's been utilized. Overtime is driven in that office by council meetings, committee meetings, elections, and annual rabies clinic that's run by the township, free of charge to the residents of the town as far as bringing your dog there. It does cost a little bit to run that in overtime, but that service is being offered free of charge to anybody that brings the dogs. I believe last year you handled around a little over 400 dogs, so there's a lot of people that are taking advantage of that program. Increase in salary and wage account in this office represents all the increases that are in accordance with the applicable bargaining agreements. And no increase in salary has been determined for any unclassified employee in the 2014 budget, excuse me. Since the mayor controls that, we have not been afforded any raises for this year. We're going to see how the budget goes, and then the mayor will make a decision at that point in time in accordance with the local ordinance. The O&E accounts in that office of the clerk are going from $36,100 in 2013 to $40,955, up $4,855 or 13.45%. The largest O&E account in the clerk's budget is for advertising. That's required statutorily to advertise ordinances that are put forth to this council and approved by the council, and any other advertising costs that must be advertised in the paper that is selected by the township that meets the statutory provision. Unfortunately for Bricktown, that's the Asbury Park Press. The Asbury Park Press is probably one of the most expensive papers that we can advertise in, but it meets the criteria, and that's the paper we have to utilize. So that's why advertising costs have driven up. Two of the line items in the clerk's office that have increased costs put into them are expert services, which is increased from 2013's appropriation of $5,500 to $6,250, up $750 or 13.63%. This is needed for the archive division to do archive imaging and shredding of documents through a shared service with Tom's River. That shared service generated savings to the township by not having to go out on its own, purchase that shredding machine, and do it in-house. We just go down and pay so much per pound to do it down in Tom's River. Also, their line item number 256, printing, binding, and photographs, is increased from $4,000, and the request for 2014 is $9,000, or up $5,000, or 125%. And the reason that this is being requested is it's needed to restore minute books, which are permanent records to the township, and they're deteriorating the current paper on them. So this is being sent out to a professional company. We're going to restore them, and it's also for the purchase of state-mandated safety paper that's utilized for any of the licenses that they issue within the clerk's office and print out within their department as well. And that concludes the presentation for the Clerk and Archive Division. And I don't know what the council's preference is, if you'd like to ask questions as I finish each division's presentation.
We will, just to keep it in lockstep. Do any of the council members have questions on this presentation? Okay. And just so the public knows, I didn't really explain this earlier. We changed what the presentations are. Instead of going through line by line of that enormous blue book, talking about minuscule things that cost $1 to very expensive things, we changed the format to cover the most expensive things. Your salary and wages, what are the increases or decreases, number of employees, what their functions are, as well as the operating expenditures. Did they go up? Did they go down? What were the big expenditures? Where can we save money? How did that department save money in the past? So on and so forth. These are things that we're going to be asking our questions about, so we thought to make the meetings more time efficient, we would just get that information up front. Mr. Pizarris, I don't think that there are any questions on this department.
Okay, with that then, I will move on to the mayor's department. The employees in 2013 remain the same as 2014. There are 3 employees, which includes the mayor. The mayor's administrative assistant and a staff member. The salary and wage account last year was $139,500 as modified, and for 2014, that's being increased to $175,400, or up $35,900, or a total of 25.73%. The increase is due to Mayor Ducey taking a reduced salary of $39,000, which is 75% of the allowable salary by ordinance. Mayor Ducey has pledged that he will dedicate 30 hours minimum a week towards his office, and I can vouch that he is here probably more than 30 hours a week.
Much more.
So that's why the increase in that. The former mayor, as you well know, did not take a salary from his position as mayor, but he didn't have that pledge. This is a pledge in this case. So, and I feel that the mayor should accept a salary. For a town the size of Bricktown, I think the mayor is entitled to a salary. The overtime in that department, which is driven primarily last year by Sandy-related items, and also by the public information officer. By Sandy-related items when we were preparing Sandy fairs and the like, was running high. So we actually exceeded our overtime budget last year. But that overtime budget is going to be reduced this year to $10,000, or a reduction of $6,000, or 37.5%, in accordance with the mayor's request and the council's request to review all overtime and come up with a reduction plan. O&E in that office is $6,200 in 2013. That's being raised by $100, or 1.6% to $6,300. The line item that went up in there and is the most expensive line item is particular conference education and office travel, which is that largest expenditure in the mayor's budget. It is at $2,000, or it represents 31.75% of his total budget. This line item has increased by $1,250, or 166%, and this is very typical when you have a change of administration. Certainly your chief executive officer of the town needs to be educated into what it is that he has to do in that new role, and the regulations and rules that basically govern what government can and cannot do are very complicated. So Mr. Mayor Ducey did attend one of his first actions in office. He did attend a conference up in Massachusetts for new mayors. And kudos to him for that, because I think that's very important that the chief executive officer knows the situation and knows how to effectuate his policies moving forward. This line item over the past 3 years, since 2011, has been reduced by $2,750, or 30.39%. And with that, that's the conclusion of the mayor's office presentation.
Okay. Questions by council? Okay, thank you.
Next up is the administration office. In 2013, there were 5 full-time employees and 1 shared employee. For 2014, we have 6 full-time employees. Salary and wage account as modified was $484,500 in 2013. That number's been reduced by $34,500, or $450,000 total, for a reduction of 7.21%. The overtime in that department for 2013 was $16,500, and the overtime being requested in 2014's budget is $23,500. It's up $7,000, or 42.42%. The majority of the overtime is related to the public informations officer, who covers all after-hour meetings, including these council meetings and committee meetings, and special events. With the implementation of the mayor's 100-year day plan, I keep saying it's 100-year, it's a 100-day plan. I guess I'm subconsciously thinking about the little quote there of John F. Kennedy, that it's an ongoing process. But his 100-day plan, items and other administrative initiatives of this administration, it's anticipated that this increase is going to be needed because of the extracurricular activities that are outside the scope of the regular workday. With O&E in 2013, the office had a $10,850 appropriation. That for 2014, in accordance with the direction of the mayor and also the council, has been reduced to $9,750, or a reduction of 10.13%. Line 205 in that in the O&E budget is for dues, and that represents the largest portion of the administration's O&E at $5,500, or approximately 56% of the entire O&E budget. And this line covers the entire cost of the township for every division and department to be a member of the League of Municipalities, and that gives us the benefit of being able to attend league conferences and league seminars at a discounted price by being a league member. And continuing education is the key to having a very good work staff. And I must say that I'd put Brick Township's work staff up against any work staff in the state. I think that we have a lot of good employees that do a great job for the township. Over the past 3 years, the administration O&E has been reduced $17,790, or a total of 15.51%. And with that concludes the administration's O&E
I do
presentation.
have one question. We went up one full-time employee, but our salary went down by $34,500. How could that be if we added another person?
Because the portion of the one employee that was removed had a very large salary.
Okay. Questions by council? Okay. Moving on to tax assessor.
In the tax assessor's office, the employee line stays the same at 7 full-time employees and 1 part-time employee for 2014. And the salary and wage account is also down $21,000 from $532,400 as modified to $511,400, a reduction of 3.9%. An employee was transferred into this office from another office, so we didn't hire a new outside employee in order to maintain the staffing levels from an existing employee that left the office, and an in-line promotion from an existing employee was done. So we backfilled that position with another employee in the township, so we didn't have to hire from the outside. Overtime. Overtime in 2013 was appropriated at $11,000. The township actually spent $28,757 in that account. So we're requesting in 2014 $28,000. That line item is up $17,000, or 154%. The reason for that increase being requested is due to the tax appeal volume that the assessor's office has seen over the last 2 years. It's increasing over the last 2 years, but we should be seeing a reduction. However, we don't know now, and the appeal deadline's actually today. So we should have a good idea of where our appeals stand, by the time the county enters all of them in to the system. We should have a good idea with that by the end of the week. Appeals totaled more than 1,200 at the county level last year. We anticipate a similar volume of appeals for this year in 2014. In addition to those appeals at the county level, the township also has 250 appeals filed at the New Jersey State Tax Court awaiting adjudication. That overtime will be used in preparation of defense of those appeals and assisting the professionals, township's professionals, with setting up a defense. That leads me into the next line, which is O&E. Last year, $105,925 was appropriated. This year, $106,750 is being appropriated. That's an increase of $825, or less than 1%. The majority of that line, of that expense, 93.68% of that, is in expert services, which is utilized to adjudicate and effectuate the defense of appeals. That line item sits at $100,000 of the $106,750. O&E expenses have risen 1.28% over the past 3 years since the revaluation, and that's the reason why, because of the volume of appeals. So we had to increase that line item by $1,350 over the past 3 years. And with that, that concludes the assessor's presentation.
Thank you. Questions, council? Okay, tax collector, please.
Tax collector's office was last year at 8 employees. There's been no change. There's 8 employees for this year. Last year's appropriation for salary and wage, as modified, was $496,800. This year's is $500,700. It's up $3,900, or less than 1%. Overtime in this department last year was slated at $1,000, and overtime this year is slated at the same $1,000. Overtime in the collector's office has been virtually non-existent since the implementation of technology in the form of UPC barcoded bills and scanners. The office used to run overtime of approximately $20,000 plus every year to get the money in the bank. When it came in, it was sitting in mail trays. It had to be manually calculated and put into the system. Now with the use of technology, that initial one-time capital cost was able to reduce the overtime from that $20,000+ to $19,000, up by $19,000 to $1,000 a year. So with that, the overtime has averaged less than, and on average over the past 3 years has been less than $500 a year. O&E costs in the collector's office for 2013, the amount appropriated is $43,530. In 2014, it's $45,800, or up $2,270, or 5.21%. The largest portion of the collector's expenditures is related to the issuance of tax bills, both regular, added, and adjusted bills, and possibly estimated tax bills. In centers around line 256, which totals $24,500, which is representative of 53.49% of the collector's entire budget. Also, line 201 is advertising line, is appropriated, she's requesting $12,600. That is represents 27.51% of her O&E account, and that is to advertise the delinquent taxes that must be advertised by law 4 times in succession before she can put those liens up for sale. And that's, those 2 main line items are what's, they represent over 80% of her O&E budget. Line 2004 has an increase of $2,000, and that is for education, conference, and office travel. It's an increase of 100%, and that's due to the transferred employee that was transferred into her office is starting collection classes as well, so she will be just as informed as the rest of the people in that office. That office actually has 5 certified tax collectors in it, so it's a very, very well experienced office. The collector's account, O&E account, has increased $6,675 over the past 3 years, or 17.06%. And the primary reason for that cost is the cost of advertisement for delinquent taxes, and also the cost of mailing for bills. That concludes the collector's presentation.
Okay, thank you. We can move on to purchasing.
Purchasing department last year had a total of 6 employees. For 2014, there are a total of 5 employees. They're retiring. Qualified purchasing agent was replaced by a staff member in that office, and that position was not backfilled down the line. However, she is requesting assistance. She was going to try to do it for a year. She did it for pretty much that year, and she's realized that it's pretty hard to do, because with all the contracts that are going out and with regard to the Sandy types of improvements that are being done, there's a lot of work being generated out of the office. She has approached the administration, and we're going to be considering adding an employee, or at least a part-time employee, to that department to assist them. That decrease obviously is due to the retirement of QPA Richard McDonald and Gary Howman, with that one employee being backfilled and with an in-house person, and the other person being promoted from within. Overtime in this department also runs at $1,000 in 2013. There's been no increase requested for 2014. And overtime in this office runs less than 0.5% over the last 3 years. The O&E account for 2013 is $102,115. For 2014, the request is $105,405, or up $3,290, or 3.22%. The largest line in this purchasing O&E expense is $99,500 for postage. and that represents 94.4% of their O&E total. Line item 2004, conference education on office travel has been increased by $1,500 or 100% to send the newly transferred employee into that department to the purchasing classes. And over the past 3 years, the purchasing department's O&E has increased $6,099 or 6.14%, and that's been due to postage increases. And that concludes purchasing.
I do have one question. If we do possibly add another employee to this department, where does that money come from in the budget?
There's a line item in the budget called salary and wage and adjustment, and I would put that money into there because you can transfer that money, but you don't know what department you're gonna be adding those employees to. So in a $97 million budget, if you only account for 1% that is not expended, it's $970,000. So you will have money left over. It's just that at this time, we don't know where that money's gonna be.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the council members? Okay, thank you. We can move to financing, please.
The next department is finance, which handles both payroll and the accounting process of the town. In 2013, that division was handled by 4 full-time employees, 1 part-time employee. This year in 2014, it consists of 5 full-time employees and 1 part-time employee. Salary and wages in that account as modified in 2013 were $280,100. For 2014, it's $355,000, or up $74,900, or 26.74%. That's due to my new role with the township, being shifted over into the Division of Finance. My entire salary now is paid out of the Division of Finance, and a portion of the salaries within that department is paid for through grants and grant administration, and also through trust funds that the township does the accounting for as well. There's an administrative fee that we collect and put into those trust funds, and we use part of that administrative fee to pay the salaries of the people that account for those funds. Overtime for last year in 2013 was appropriated at $10,000. That was due to the fact that we had to do some grant reconciliations on some outstanding grants. Work has been performed, so this year we're requesting $4,500, or down $5,500 from 2013's request, or a reduction of 55%. Overtime is utilized in the prior years, as I said, to reconcile outstanding receivable and reserve balances in the grant account, and that project's been completed, so that's going to be, that's why we're able to cut it. O&E in the department is going from $60,680 to $55,590, down $5,090, or 8.39%. Line 207 for expert services is the largest appropriation in the office at $50,000, or representative of 89.94% of the total O&E. This line pays for non-auditing accounting services, which include preparation and review of the ADS and AFS, and review of the annual budget document for cap levy compliance and cap levy workbook. Other accounting services are paid from this line, which eliminated the need to replace 2 full-time staff positions in the office at about 1/10 of the cost of those 2 employees. So the total compensation for those 2 employees, their full benefit packages and salary and wage, was $223,400 versus the cost of the professional accountant, which comes in once a month, and it's been averaging less than $25,000 a year on average for the past 3 years. The office's O&E account has decreased $19,900 over the past 3 years, for a total of 26.45%.
Thank you. Questions from the council?
Way to go, Scott. You ran off our scouts.
I'm sure everybody else is going to leave too by the time I get through the next 3.
Human resources, please.
Yes, Human Resources has started out 2013 with 7 employees. In 2014, they have 6 employees. Salary and wage was $424,900 as modified in 2013. It's $413,515 for 2014. down $11,385, or 2.68%. Cross-training and shuffling of duties of the retiree in that office that retired last year allowed the division to actually utilize the 6 employees, separate the duties out amongst the other 6 employees, and that's with dealing with pension and health care reforms, and also the Affordable Health Care Act, which is putting a lot of extra work and analysis onto the department, but they were able to pick that up without replacing that employee, so kudos to that department as well. However, that does generate a little more overtime, because in addition to doing those things, they also have to coordinate with civil service, any hiring, firing, and additional changes in titles that are requested through the different departments. They also handle all of that. So overtime in that department is up from $10,000 in 2013 to $15,105. However, the reduction of the 1 employee more than offsets that increase in overtime request of the $15,105. Overtime is required to implement those changes of 427-person workforce, and overtime is 3.65% of the overall salary and wage account. And as I said, it's less than hiring an additional employee to facilitate the workload. O&E in that in the department is $169,800 for 2013. It increased to $171,415, or up $1,650, or less than 1%. The largest expenses in that O&E account are 207, which is expert services, and that comes in at $105,000, or 61.24% of the total O&E budget. And that's utilized primarily for labor counsel and consultants that deal with grievances, civil service complaints, and PERC cases throughout the year. Line 276, which is for doctor's fees, is requested at $60,000, which is used for medical testing for CDL holders, police, EMTs, lifeguards, and new hires. Together, these line items make up 96.24% of human resources O&E, and over the past 3 years, the O&E has increased $9,950, or 5.48%. And that concludes human resources presentation.
Now, when you say medical testing for the CDL holders, police, EMT, et cetera, what exactly is that?
All police officers, EMTs, and people in safety-sensitive positions undergo psychological exams and a thorough medical exam to make sure they can perform their functions for the township. And in accordance with the Omnibus Act of 1991, we have to test our CDL holders, and every time they're involved in an accident, and there's random testing as well. So that's done on an ongoing basis throughout the year.
Other questions from the council members? You got an easy job this year so far. Township clerk, actually, we did that.
The last one's data processing.
Data processing.
2013, we had 5 employees, remains the same in 2014 at 5 employees. Salary and wage account is modified, was $405,400 last year. It's down $700 to $404,700, which is a reduction of less than 1%. Overtime in that department is going from $15,000 to $22,000, or up $7,000, or 46.66%. The overtime increase is due to increased server maintenance and firewall upgrades, which constantly need to be upgraded, because it seems every time we get a fix, some new hacker finds a way to hack in, so you have to update the firewalls. You have to perform those upgrades after hours or on the weekends to minimize this disruption of service. With the police obviously being involved 24/7, they do get some disruption, but then they move out to the other shed and buildings, and then they can update those servers and come in and do the ones on the inside. So they're able to accommodate them. So the least amount of disruption possible. With O&E accounts, $383,000 was appropriated last year in 2013. This year's appropriations being requested at $470,800, up $87,800, or a total of 22.92%. This is attributable to line item 288, which is also the largest appropriation in data processing and is used to pay for maintenance contracts on all operating platforms. That line item alone totals $420,000, or represents 89.20% of the data processing's overall budget. Over the past 3 years, data processing O&E has risen 32.92%, and that is all because of the maintenance contracts as we move forward. And with that, that concludes all my presentations for this evening.
You don't happen to know how long it takes for, or if the servers have to be down to update them from hackers? Is that something, like, is it a short amount of time?
Depends on whether or not we were violated, if anything's come in and they have to clean what's in there. Usually, thank God for us, it's been just an upgrade of the firewall. So people have tried to get in, didn't get in, but they are upgrading the firewall. We do occasionally get emails from the outside, and the firewall was not updated, so we didn't quarantine that email, and it was opened, and we did have some virus. If you remember the ransom virus that was out there, we did get hit with that.
I think just my point being is that if it is a small amount of time, less than an hour, I'm not sure what time everybody's lunch break is, but maybe to try and do it during the day so we didn't have to have the overage on the overtime. But if it's not feasible, if we can't, if we're down a lot longer than that, then I can understand why we have to do it after hours. Any other questions from the council?
Madam President.
Yes.
Mr. Pizarros, that's an annual contract at $420,000?
Correct. They're with every single platform that the township runs, it comes with a maintenance contract.
And this is someone we've been using?
All different, Microsoft, New World Communications, any software programs we run, there's maintenance contracts on those software programs.
Is that all?
That's all. Thank
Okay.
you.
Do you have a wrap-up statement, or is there any other questions overall from Mr. Pizarros from the council? No? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Not used to seeing them on the other side.
No.
Council President,
Yes.
I just wanted to correct one thing. The trip up to Harvard didn't use any no Brick Township money at all, up to Massachusetts. I just wanted to correct that for the record.
Thank you. I was getting a little jealous that I wasn't invited. Thank you very much for your time. Mr. Chief Berquist, would you like to come up, please?
Chief, you have either, if you want to, you have to push the button on that one, or you can grab the microphone from the podium, maybe, if that's more comfortable. I should have said that to Mr. Pizarros. You have to hold the button down, or you can grab the one off of the podium.
Grab that other one, might be a little easier. Good evening. The Department of Public Safety has 7 separate budgets, and they are police, special police, crossing guard, dispatch, emergency medical services, emergency management, and the police vehicle budget. The department's staffed with 233 employees, 127 police officers, 10 special police officers, 21 full-time EMTs, 16 part-time EMTs, 17 crossing guards, 20 full-time communications operators, 3 part-time communications operators, 17 full-time support staff, and 2 part-time support staff. In 2013, the department handled 434 calls for service, 4,011 more than in 2012, 10,569 more than in 2011. The department staffing level has remained the same during that time period. In 2013, the township appropriated $15,970,000 for police regular salaries. The department expended $15,433,336 for regular police salaries last year. This year's request is $15,855,500, which is $114,500 less than the 2013 allocation. In 2013, the township appropriated $1,300,000 for police overtime. The department expended $1,524,941. Most of the overtime incurred is a result of manpower shortages and an increased workload, as I mentioned previously. Additionally, the department experienced unanticipated overtime in two areas. The Administrative Office of the Court has mandated that the department provide security in the municipal court, and overtime normally charged to the Summerfest account was charged to that line in 2013. And that overtime included an expanded presence in the wake of the Boston Marathon bombings. Additionally, the department was reimbursed $38,000 by the Department of Justice for overtime work by our personnel during a cooperative investigation which resulted in the arrest of 21 people and the disruption of a drug trafficking organization responsible for the supply of much of the heroin in this area. Overall, the department expended $343,617 less than appropriated for police salary and overtime in 2013. This year, the police overtime request is $1,545,000. Over the past 6 years, the department has continually reduced non-salary operating costs. Last year, that reduction was a 6% reduction, which represented approximately $11,000. This year, the department is requesting a $14,000 increase in that portion of the budget to cover increased costs. That request for 2014 is $192,950. The department and the administration are working with the PBA to expand the use of special police officers to reduce overtime. The plan is to use special police officers who make $18.75 an hour to man screening equipment for court security and to perform booking and prisoner handling functions, which will free up regular officers and reduce overtime. In order to accomplish that effort, 10 special officers will have to be hired and trained. That training and additional duties will nearly double the number of hours that special officers work. To accommodate that request for special officer salaries is $250,000 this year. The crossing guard salary request is $21,000 less than 2013 as a result of a retirement, and that request is $316,000. Police dispatch salary and overtime is increased to $1,250,000 from $1,224,000. And that increase is necessary to cover contractual obligations. The emergency medical service salary and overtime request is $1,119,400. Revenue from the EMS program will completely offset all of those costs. The emergency management salary request is increased by $5,000, and the police vehicle allocation remains the same, or the request remains the same as last year at $280,000. In closing, the department remains committed to keeping costs down without sacrificing our effectiveness. One example of that commitment is launching the e-ticket program at the end of this month. The program will save several thousand man-hours yearly It will increase the efficiency of our traffic enforcement efforts, and most importantly, traffic stops will be much safer for the motorist and the police officer. We look forward to continue to look for those types of opportunities as we move ahead, and I will take any questions you may have.
Thank you. Just, go ahead.
Question, too.
My question is, last year we provided capital funding for the e-ticketing program. I think it's a tremendous program, going to save our township a lot of money over the course of the years. Do you have any other projects in the pipeline that will equal that will help save you money in your department?
The one we're working on currently is to get the special police officers to pick up some of the security in the municipal court. I touched on that a little bit. If we use regular police officers to do those functions, it'll cost roughly $120,000 a year. If we use a regular police officer for security and the special police officers to man the equipment, that cost drops down to about $58,000 a year. So we're looking at things of those nature.
Councilwoman Dion, did you have a question?
Yeah, very quickly. You mentioned the special police officers that we have. How much approximately do you think the overtime will drop when we use them, as opposed, is that the $58,000 a year that you referenced that will save in overtime using those special guys because they don't have to book the prisoners and all that stuff?
Yeah, there's two separate programs there. The first is the municipal court security program, and that difference would go from $120,000 a year to $58,000 a year.
Okay.
The savings for the booking process, using those special officers as booking officers, it's hard to put a number on that.
Mm-hmm.
Those numbers vary year to year, month to month, week to week, depending on the workload. But what happens is if an officer makes an arrest towards the end of his shift, not only does he have to complete the report before he goes home for the night, but he has to handle that prisoner, book that prisoner in, and the lieutenant or the sergeant on the desk has to monitor that prisoner. We'll be able to take those duties, reassign them to a special police officer at a much cheaper rate, and allow the police officer to go back on the road and do his duties on the road.
Okay, thank you.
Madam President?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a question. Chief, quick question. I know one of your Police Explorers program, which I think it's one of your fantastic programs that you run. It's not in your, is that under your category, or is that a separate category, or any way the council can help you on that? Because I know that's a program that I admire, and I know with their younger generation, they admire it.
The increase, and I don't have the line item in front of me, I can dig it out. It's not that big this year,
Okay.
but we've gotten some funding from outside sources. But I will let you know if the opportunity exists. Thank you.
Okay. Any way we can help on that, because I think that's big. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Yes, Councilwoman.
One more thing. I know Councilwoman Pontrero and Councilwoman Zapsik, you had met with the volunteer EMS guys. Is that, and mentioned about having them help out at some of our township events. Is that something that would be able to help offset some of those costs of the other EMS?
If I could, specifically, they had offered to go on 3 days a week on a rotation. If they can commit to those days and hours, which I understand there may have been issues in the past in terms of communication, but if they could commit to 3 days and hours, would that help you reduce the costs of our paid EMS?
Any commitment that the volunteers can make to handle the workload is certainly beneficial and will certainly help us out, especially for those pre-planned events that we can plan ahead. The trouble we're having now is the schedule that they're able to give us in advance is only for 4 to 5 hours on a given day. So we still have to schedule in a paid EMT crew to cover that work period. So if the volunteers are covering those calls, those paid EMTs are sitting either in their building or in their ambulance not handling those calls. So we've got to try to find that balance so that they can come in, they can commit to a schedule so that we're not paying personnel to duplicate the work.
So Chief Berquist, is what I'm hearing that there would be, have to commit, commitment to a certain shift? Is that basically what it comes down to, so that our paid guys don't have to be on that shift? Would that make things easier for you?
Absolutely, that's what we've been trying to work with them for a number of years. We recognize their difficulties, they're having trouble getting members, and then the members they have difficulty making commitments to cover a whole shift. So that puts us in a difficult situation that we have to pay an employee to pick up that difference.
Perhaps we can set up a meeting, because based on my conversations with our volunteers, I think they'd be willing to make that promise to be available for a certain shift. So maybe we can get together with our next meeting. and
I
have you
think we
guys do it.
already have that meeting scheduled. I
We
think
do?
it may be scheduled for next Monday.
We're
It's
s-
scheduled for next Monday, yes.
But I want to add to the agenda specifically about that shift, since I'm hearing that that's really the need, that there is a specific shift. How many hours is in a shift?
Our EMTs are working 12-hour shifts right now, but we will work with the volunteers if they can give us a schedule and they can project it out a couple of weeks so that we don't incur overtime bringing people in to cover up the difference of a shift.
That's what I want to hear. Thank you so much.
Madam President?
Yes.
Chief, as a follow-up to that, I seem to recall Councilwoman Pontoriero will correct me if I'm wrong, that at that same meeting, the volunteers also expressed a willingness to cover community events such as Summerfest, events at the Drum Point Sports Complex, graduations and whatnot. Is that appropriate, and will that help to reduce our EMS overtime if they are able to adequately cover those events?
Yes, absolutely. As long as we know in advance and we can build our schedule to accommodate that, that is certainly a benefit, and it's something that we've been trying to work with them for a number of years, and have had some success in that regard.
Thank you.
Any other further questions for the chief? Okay, thank you very much for your
Thank you,
time, we
Chief.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, chief.
Thank you.
At the next council meeting on the 15th, we will be having more budget presentations from the Department of Public Works, Parks and Recreation, and the Building Department as well. Give everyone a moment to get our desks and tables back together. Okay. Ready? Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. All matters listed under item consent agenda will be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. If discussion is desired on any item, this item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. We do have one item being held, that is Resolution 12, Support National Historical Site Status Application, David Beaton and Sons Boatyard. The council would like to gather more information before we present this to the agenda. Beginning with Resolution 1, Recognize Child Abuse Prevention Month. I'd like to say thank you for Ms. Butler for coming in and speaking about this resolution and the importance of this topic. And I'm sure there will be no nay votes on this to support that. Resolution 6.2, Recognize Autism Awareness Month. This is definitely a debilitating disease that can be very difficult for families to cope with in their everyday life. And we just, as a council, want to recognize that every year the month of April is designated Autism Awareness Month, and it affords all of us the opportunity to focus our attentions and become more knowledgeable about this and what we can do to help the families in our community. Resolution 6.3, Authorize Emergency Temporary Appropriations. Going to ask Ms. Bergen to address this, please.
These are temporary appropriations until our budget is adopted and formalized. So these appropriations will get us through the month of April until we have a final budget approved.
Thank you. Resolution 4 is very interesting. It's to authorize the receipt of bids for a beer and wine garden concession in Summerfest. This is somewhat of an experiment, the first time we're going to do this. And Ms. Bergen, if you could address this, any information that you'd like to give the council on this? Or Mayor Ducey, please?
Sure, yes. We're going to go out to bid and offer, get offers in from various businesses, whether they're restaurants, they're beer distributors, individual bars, whoever may want to bid on it. And it's a bidding process to see how much they would be willing. They're going to have certified bartenders. They have to provide the security. They have to provide the ID checkers. And it's going to be a roped, fenced-off area. You're not going to be able to walk all through Summerfest with the beer or wine. It'll be a special section such as you see at Brielle Day or the Manasquan Fire Fair and other events, Point Pleasant Boroughs, summer series that they have. We're going to try the same thing here at Brick, and this is just authorizing to go out for bid so that we see what type of money we can make from this event.
So, to be clear, this is going to be completely privately run, so the township won't have to expend any funds or extra police officers or anything like that for this event, right?
That's right. It's going to be a way to generate revenue by the way of the RFP and whatever bids they bid on, but it's privately run, own security. They have to be certified. They have to show us the certifications for their bartenders, their tips, TIPS certified, and ID checkers, and a roped-off, fenced-off area. It's going to be very, strict, but still with everybody having a safe and fun time.
Madam President?
Yes,
I guess the biggest question I have is insurance. If somebody relieved Mr. Mayor, or do we help me out, or
Yeah,
attorney?
they have to, whoever the winning bidder is, and that's in the bid package as well, the
Okay.
RFP, they have to name us as an additional insured, so that, their insurance covers, their liquor liability insurance will cover.
That will be the primary coverage available to the township. The township, of course, also has its own insurance, which will be in effect backup insurance coverage, but not the primary for that event.
Okay, thank you, because I know it's a big question that we're going to have.
Mm-hmm. But I think it's been very successful in other townships, so I hope that it'll be as successful as ours. Yes, Councilman?
Mayor, will this be just to one individual company? Or will it be a beer person or a wine person separate, or?
The way the RFP is set up is that it's going to be one running both, one company.
I do have one further question. What events does this cover? Is it only our Summerfest events? Is it car events?
It covers the 3 Summerfest concerts and the 1 car show. The car show is July 31st. Summerfest is July 3rd.
And I think it also covers Bricktoberfest. No?
No, it does not.
Oh, okay. My bad.
That'll be different.
Oh, okay.
Bricktoberfest is an event we're going to start this year. It'll be October 18th at Windward Beach, and it's going to be a great event. We'll advertise it more as it gets closer, as we have it more organized, but
Sorry.
this does not include that.
No?
Any other questions? Okay. I guess we'll see what the bids return are. Resolution 5, authorize receipt of bids renovation for the girls softball field, Strum Point Sports Complex. The Division of Purchasing and Contracting is hereby authorized to advertise for the bids. For the above project, the project includes laser grading of the fields, adding approximately 30 feet of sod to the infields, and clay where it is needed. Resolution 6, authorize award of bid Route 70 eastbound reconstruction and JDOT project. Sealed bids were received by the Division of Purchasing and Contracting in Brick to rebid Route 70 eastbound construction and JDOT project on March 14th. They were reviewed by Mazer Consulting Engineer. And the rebid is being awarded to BlackRock Enterprises in the amount of $447,316.12. It's coming from 2 funds. $175,036.91 is coming from our capital fund, ordinance 21-13. We are also getting $272,297.17 from the grant fund NJDOT 2012 Route 70 improvements, so thankfully we don't have to pay for about 2/3 of the project. Notifications were mailed to 46 contractors from our bidder list. 8 contractors responded. 6 bids were submitted. The information I have is BlackRock Enterprises, which bid the $447,316.12. Earl Asphalt came in second at just under $450,000, and Stavolta Contracting came in at $452,626. Resolution 7, authorize change order number 1, final window replacement in the municipal building. The change order represents an unused contingency allowance in the fund for the window replacements here at the complex. The contract issued to Winderco Incorporated is being decreased by $13,499. Again, another good savings. Resolution number 8, authorize agreement for lifeguarding services at the private beach associations. Lynette, Ms. Iannarone, I do want to make one correction on here. The title says that there are 3 private beach associations, but I believe it is only 2.
Okay, duly noted, thank you.
So we need to make that correction. What the resolution states is that several private beach associations have requested that BRIC provide certified lifeguards and equipment, and they have offered to reimburse, hold harmless, and indemnify the Township of BRIC for the provision of the lifeguards and services. And because we have the obligation to provide a safe beach environment to all of our beachgoers, we are going forward with this. The 2 beaches are Ocean Club at Maniloking and Curtis Point Property Owners Association. The lifeguards are paid $13 per hour, 8 hours per day. There are 3 lifeguards per beach. The day totals are 87 days for the year. Are there any questions about this resolution? Okay. Number 9, authorize Garden State fireworks display for the 2014 Summerfest events. Let's see. The office received proposals for the 2014 Summerfest fireworks event at a fee not to exceed $17,500. There are 3 scheduled firework events. The request for proposals were made to 6 vendors, and only 1 responded, which is Garden State Fireworks. Mayor Ducey, those dates are July 3rd, July 17th, and August 14th. And it's going to be a great time. I believe that this is the same company as last year, and I think that they did a spectacular job with their fireworks display. Resolution 610, authorize the Township of Brick and the NJDEP to enter upon and take possession of real property for the purpose of construction, repair, restoration, and/or replacement of flood hazard risk reduction measures. And I'm going to ask our Township Attorney to give us an explanation on this resolution.
Thank you, Council President. By adoption of this resolution, the council will be authorizing both the Township and the State of New Jersey to enter upon and take properties up along the beachfront. The purpose of this is to allow the state to install, I think what most people have heard about by now, the revetment, the steel revetment that's going to be placed up along the beachfront. And it will also authorize the backfilling and the beach replenishment, the sand to be placed on and alongside the revetment. The reason there's a need for this is that while most property owners have been working in good faith with the township and the state to get this done, there's a need to move quickly now, and frankly, all the paperwork is not quite in place, and this will enable the township to put it in place and enable the project to proceed. And it's important to note also that the costs for this project, both including the acquisition costs, the appraisal costs, the legal costs, are not on the township. They will be borne by the state. So by doing this, actually what the town is doing is assisting and allowing the state to proceed with this project and to do it relatively quickly.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council on this? Resolution 11, support permanent 2% cap on interest arbitration awards. And would the mayor or our business administrator like to address this?
I'll address it, thanks. Yeah, what this is, it's a resolution supporting the 2% cap on arbitration awards. As probably everybody knows, Governor Christie put down the fact that we have to keep property taxes within a 2% level every year, and this is one of the tools in order to do that. What it means is if you come to an impasse with a union, the most an arbitrator could award is a 2% increase, which obviously helps us out staying within the 2% cap. Unfortunately, it expires today, so it probably expired already. But what we have is a little bit of movement since the resolution was adopted. The Senate agreed with Governor Christie in his conditional veto, and we're just waiting for the legislature, for the Assembly to do the same. Once they pass it, then the 2% cap will be in effect. But as of today, they still haven't, they didn't call all the Assemblymen back today or yesterday to vote on it. So that's what this resolution would urge, is that the Assembly get together and vote this 2% cap in so we can be able to balance our budgets better. Without this 2% cap, arbitration awards could go to 5%, 6%, 7%. It increased in addition to any step increases and COLA increases that the unions are entitled to. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Questions or comments from the council? Okay. And number 12 is held. Resolution 13, authorize special events permit, Brick Rotary Club Walk for Humanity. We had a very nice explanation from Ms. Lindenbaum and Ms. Reinhold, and we thank you for them for coming in. Again, this event is on April 5th between the hours of 8:30 a.m. and 2 p.m. Are there any questions from the council on this? I'm looking forward to the event. I hope a lot of our town comes out to support this. And Resolution 14, authorize special events permit, Quaker Steak and Lube for cruise nights. They've been doing this for, they did it last year and they're doing it again this year. It's lots of fun. They will be held on Wednesday nights between the hour of 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. and Sunday afternoons from April through November between the hours of 12 noon and 4 p.m. I believe that this is an outside event, obviously, because it's cruise night. But that's a lot of fun as well. Questions? No. And everybody's favorite, the tax collector.
Council President, I have a question. Are they charged for one particular event? Do they pay the special events fee
I think it's one.
one time for those,
They pay one fee for the application.
one fee? And then
Yes.
they're using it for those Wednesdays
Yes,
and Sunday afternoons, April through November?
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Council President?
Yes, I do have a question for the clerk. I'm just figuring out how to word it, actually. But would you like to go while I'm gathering my thoughts?
I think the question, and you may have the same one.
I believe it is.
How are they separate events, or the same event if they're separate evenings and nights? Because
Well, I
it's
think it's the same type of event and the same approval is necessary for the whole event.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I probably could technically make them fill out separate applications for,
Yeah.
but it would be the same application.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that,
We could change the ordinance
Yeah.
to reflect.
like a seasonal.
That would make the most sense to me, as a seasonal.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to look
I
at
don't,
that.
I don't know that the ordinance addresses
Yeah, it
the
doesn't. I just
application
read it.
fee for different.
Yeah. I think it's
I don't know
something
what
that we
I'm
can
trying to
address
say, what I'm trying
in
to say.
business
does
and
not
It doesn't
finance.
finance.
specify if an application is for one day or 365 days.
Okay.
I don't think it's specific.
So they wouldn't have to do one for every week because although it's the same event, they are separate events? Or does it not count it as separate events because it's the same events?
I would consider.
Do you know where I'm going with that?
Because it's the same event, and I'm not requesting that the police department give me 20
Reports.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
just considering it one event, and they're just writing me one memo.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. Resolution 15, tax collector. 15A, the tax collector for Brick is requesting that she be allowed to cancel tax credits of $5 and under for the year 2013. B, the tax collector for Brick is requesting that she be allowed to cancel tax balances of $5 and under for the year 2013. C, the tax collector of Brick is advising the Township Council that there has been a redemption of tax sale certificates. The monies have been received and deposited in the current account. D, the tax collector of Brick is advising the Township Council that there are overpayments for taxes for the year 2013. That is 30 Burton Parkway, Beretta, Anthony, and Rose, and the amount of $1,122.50. E, the tax collector of Brick is advising the Township Council that there are overpayments for 2014 for property 456 Route 35 North, owner by King Kirkpatrick, Jackson, and McNeely. It is a trust in the amount of $13,910.67. F, the tax collector of Brick is advising the Township Council that there are overpayments for the year 2009 on 51 Chambers Bridge Road due to state appeals being granted, and the state appeal reduces the assessment for 2009 in the amount of $35,703. G, the tax collector of Brick is advising the council that there are overpayments for the year 2011, 12, and 13 on 567 Mantoloking Road due to state appeals being granted. It reduces the assessment by $17,384.52. H, the tax collector of Brick is advising the council that there are overpayments for the year 2013 on 74 through 80 Brick Boulevard due to state appeals being granted, and it reduces the assessment by $27,916.90. The tax collector of Brick is advising the council that there are overpayments for the years 2012 and 13 on 20 Brick Boulevard due to state appeals being granted. It reduces the assessment by $1,965.56. J, the tax collector of Brick is advising the council that there are overpayments for the years 2011, 12, and 13 on 495 Aurora Place due to state appeals being granted. It reduces the assessment by $16,035.15. That was not so bad. Resolution 16, authorize award of bid for the Summerfest food vendors, and I'm going to ask the administration or the business administrator to address this, please. Food vendor, Summerfest.
I can address it.
Yes, Councilwoman, please do.
So, we went out to bid for 7 different categories, 8 different spots for Summerfest for the 3 nights. We received bids from two places. They were John and Debbie O's and Jay's Jolly Shaved Ice. They came in for category, John and Debbie O's came in for category 3, grilled and fried items, category 5, ice cream, and category 6, miscellaneous, which is the funnel cakes and the fried Oreos and all the stuff that's really bad for you. The Jay's Jolly Shaved Ice came in at category 7, shaved ice, pretzels, and infused water. We did receive 1 bid for all 8 spots, which was allowed under this bid from Tony's Italian Sausage, that was rejected. And we are, I believe, going out to rebid for the rest of the categories 1, 2, and 4, so that we can see what those bids get us. And this was done with the council approval.
Thank you. Is there any questions or comments from the council on this? All right, then. This is the end of the consent agenda. I need a motion and a second, please.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman DeYoung, seconded by Councilman Mumolo. And I am going to open to the public for questions. Please. Yes, Mr. Gross.
Richard Gross, 29 Greenbrier Boulevard. I have a question about number 6, Resolution 6. I was under the impression that Route 70 is a state highway. If so, why are we involved with reconstruction of it?
Ms. Bergen, would you like to address that? She just needs a moment to get her papers.
6-6.
Route 71.
Mhm.
This is for our portion. I'm assuming Elizabeth, you chime in if I'm wrong. This is for our portion of the roadway that we are going to be working on.
If it's a state highway, why are we involved in any portion of it?
Would you please come up to the, thank you. This is our township engineer, Ms. Cummings.
Aren't you glad you stuck around?
Thank you. And as early as around 2003, the Township of Brick began to initiate improvements on State Highway, largely because we no longer wanted to wait for the state, and the number one complaint in Brick Township was traffic. Not crime, not taxes, traffic. Those improvements began with extending the left turn lanes on Route 70 East on a Chambers Bridge Road, Route 70 West on a Chambers Bridge Road. We entered into a cooperative effort with Ocean County in assisting with the design of the reconfiguration of Cedar Ridge Avenue and Route 70. We've been working on a DTS change, which is a desired typical section for Route 70, actually get a wider cartway. That's a 10-year plan, but that's not costing us anything. We've also eliminated the left turns onto Chambers Bridge Road, from Chambers Bridge Road onto 70 eastbound and westbound. We've extended the left turn lanes on Brick Boulevard from Route 70 westbound onto Brick Boulevard. All of those improvements have incrementally increased the level of service at each intersection at Route 70. And I don't know if any of you recall, but just our drive time trying to get from what was formerly the Laurelton Circle into Lakewood Township used to take you, with no exaggeration on a Saturday, upwards of 30 minutes. And now you can get through it in around 5. So if nothing else, I understand that the township has put out some funds to improve traffic, but it's improved the quality of life of the residents. Much of it has been reimbursable through grants and state aid. And I would argue that we've significantly increased or decreased our carbon footprint as a result just from cars sitting down idling in traffic.
I have a big problem here. How long is it going to take the state? How much is it costing us? How much has it cost us? And you say most of it will be reimbursed by grants. I want to know dollars and cents rather than...
It's here.
For each and every project, we received a municipal aid grant, or we weren't always municipal aid. Sometimes we just got a discretionary aid from the state to cover the distance.
Mr. Gross?
I'm sorry, it doesn't...
I have the
Just the
figures
numbers.
here.
We
if
have the
you'd like.
numbers.
I'm sorry.
We have the figures here. We have a capital fund, or 21-13, which we are removing just over $175,000 from. And we have a grant fund from New Jersey DOT 2012 for this specific project in the amount of $272,297. So it's a split source of funding, some from us and most from them.
How much is it? Forgive me, I wasn't writing your numbers down.
$175,000.
It's going to cost us $175,000.
Yes.
I would like specifically to know what that's for. You say reconstruction, but that doesn't tell me anything.
It is for a conversion of the existing shoulder to a third travel lane eastbound, including full depth pavement reconstruction of the existing shoulder and milling and resurfacing of the existing travel lanes. So it's to widen the road and then repave it.
I appreciate that. But as Melissa said, that we don't want to wait for the state. How long do we have to wait for the state to save ourselves $175,000?
It would seem quite a long time if they're pushing for this. That would be my guesstimate.
Okay. I appreciate what you're saying. It's just that I'm a little concerned that we have to reimburse, if nothing more, the state for $175,000, which always ends up closer to $200,000.
Well, hopefully not, because that's what we're allowing to be spent. But I think what Ms. Cummins also added was that hopefully out of that 175, we will recover much of that through other grants and funding through the state.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yes.
I hope you are right. Thank you.
I hope so too. Thank you. Anyone from the public like to comment, question? Yes, Mr. Scott.
Coincidentally, I had a question about the same one. On 6, which I had seen the purchasing agent here before, we had rejected this bid once before
We
because
did.
we thought it was too high. Now you're considering voting for it, and it's higher than it was before. My question was why? Because we weren't supposed to have any changes. We were just going out to get a lower bid because the engineer in charge of the project thought we were spending too much money to start with. So if you can enlighten me as to why we're gonna spend more money now than before, and again, we're not getting, it's not all grant money as it was previously stated. We are coming out of our pocket for this. Why the sudden turn?
I can respond to that, Council President, if it's
Thank you,
helpful.
yes.
We rebid this project recognizing that we would prefer this work to be done at night, and that changed the price significantly. This is a very highly trafficked area, and it's a council preference to do this type of project at night to be less impactful to vehicular traffic throughout the very busiest portions of the day. That changed the dynamic of the pricing significantly. So the rebid reflects
What is the
this project being
significant
done.
amount?
This is the new amount with the nighttime
I
pricing.
mean, what is the difference from before and now is my question.
That I don't have. I'd have to get back to you
No.
on that.
I thought I had it in the last package. I apologize, Mr. Scott. But we can get you that answer, though.
Okay.
It's readily available. We can have that for you tomorrow.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
I have another question on 610. I did have one on 6.4, but I think I'd like to see the RFP before I ask any question. But on 610, prior to our present council here, I thought we had authorized this once before. It seems that we're doing it again. I find this revetment very important. Council tonight did say that the state is picking up the cost. My question is, I had asked the previous council on the way out the door, who's going to take care of this? Is our attorney going to represent us in this, or are we going to farm this out?
We are, the township attorney is, I would say, monitoring this process, but the heavy lifting is being undertaken by the State Attorney General's office to obtain the deeds and record the deeds. But obviously this concerns township residents and township property, so the township attorney will be keeping an eye on it.
Okay, and they'll reimburse you for whatever your expenses are?
Correct.
Okay. A quick question on one of the tax appeals. You mentioned that, and I don't know if you could answer this, Councilman, Council President, there was a $35,000, I guess, reduction from 2009. How long did the tax appeal, again, it was stated, today was the cutoff date for, for this year. So how are we giving back money from 2009 to the tune of 35 grand? I mean, I'd like to learn. I'd like to learn something new every day, so.
Me too.
I don't know the particulars of this one, but tax appeals often, property owners can file tax appeals every year. And frequently with usually commercial-owned properties, the tax appeals take a while to wind their way through the tax court system. In other words, to get resolved. It's not unusual for it to take 3 or 4 years for a tax appeal to get resolved. I would suspect that what's happened here is that this is a large tax bill that just has been backed up for 4 years and is finally getting resolved.
Okay, is there a time frame where it goes away? I mean, where they lose, if you don't file by today, you lose your opportunity to go. So my question is, what period of time do they disallow it, or it's just?
No, well, it's.
Once they file it, it's just an ongoing?
Correct. If it's filed by today, there is a right to proceed, and it's determined by the tax court at whenever the tax court gets around to deciding. It could be a year, it could be 5 years.
Okay. Thank you very much.
We
Thank
had
you.
one that came in yesterday that was 7 years, so it
Mr. Scott, also on that
If we
6-4.
win the case, I'm okay with that, but when we lose on that.
On that 6-4, if you have some ideas on that, we're doing the bid specs currently, so if you have some ideas on that, you said you have a question about it. If you have an idea, maybe we can include it in our bid specifications.
I guess one of the questions that we had, and we've considered this in the past to help, people in Brick, before, like nonprofits have liquor licenses that could be utilized. So I was wondering, are they gonna be able to bid on this as well as businesses that have club licenses?
Sure.
As long as they have the insurance?
Anybody's legally allowed to bid, yes. Whoever puts in a bid.
Well, it all depends what's in the RFP.
As long as, that's the other point, as long as they comply with what's in the bid specs, right? Now, I don't, there may be nonprofits out there that comply, I'm not sure if they could.
Okay.
No, they're certainly not precluded, no, any entity that is, can comply with the bid specs, profit, nonprofit, can certainly file a bid.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jampel. Nice to see you. It's been a while.
Nice to see you. New faces, too. Ron Jampel, 66 Bernard Drive. Also at Resolution 6. I appreciate what Alyssa said, and it goes back to 2003. I don't think anybody sitting here was around in 2003 is when when this was initiated. So I would think that we would need some more clarity as to what Brick actually entered into with the state of New Jersey regarding what commitments were made at the time. Because it seems strange to me that Brick wouldn't have just said, we will pay for the following improvements for left-hand turns or whatever else Alyssa explained, rather than just a blanket, we will now pick up X percent of every work that's getting done on Route 70. So, and 175,000 on the total project cost doesn't come out to a nice round percentage number. So I'm just not clear. I don't think anyone's clear. And again, no one around here was around in 2003, unless someone can tell us that they've actually seen that agreement with the state DOT that says we have to pick up a certain portion, unless council has seen that particular agreement that said that we will pick up that particular portion. I don't see how we can agree to assume $175,000, regardless whether it comes from the capital budget or the operating budget, how you can assume that that is the right amount if we don't have the agreement before us that stipulates that that amount. And I would suggest that council would have to at least see that to see that contractually that is the right amount. My second question is regarding timing and the rebidding. How much time should this resurfacing take?
I'll speak to the first component of the question. The NJDOT is a municipal aid grant process, and that's what we apply for this road. The council makes a policy decision on which roads they feel are most important to apply for, and the DOT encourages that, especially on important roads like Route 70 roads that are their roads, and they show their support by giving you a substantial amount of funding towards it. They're not going to come in and do it for maybe 10 years, but if you submit that as your priority application, we'll give you, substantial funding towards the project. So the grant agreement would come in for awarding the total amount or having a total project amount of 447, of which 272,297 will be coming from the DOT. So that's the technical agreement that you're looking for, which is what is the state's commitment to this road, but that's in response to our application for that road as our priority in the municipal aid project. If the township put in through the NJDOT for a grant that was completely township owned, The DOT would look at that as sort of a ranking criteria in terms of if they would give any funding, and if so, it would probably be significantly less than 272. So they try to encourage townships to do what it is that we've done with this priority ranking for a state road by contributing significantly towards the cost. Or we could bypass it and just do a township road for the application, but then we may not get funded. Other towns that are working on more important roads would get more of the funding. So that's really a policy process that put in place what road we were going to submit for as a priority. They committed to fund 272, 297 of that.
If that was a sequence, shouldn't the council have approved that going to the state to say we are willing to commit $175,000?
There would have been a resolution of support of the application at the time it was made. The DOT requires a governing body resolution, so there was one at the time this application was submitted. If not, it wouldn't have been funded.
Do we have a copy of that here?
I don't know that we have a copy of it here, but I'm sure we do in the clerk's office.
I just think there's a lot of, and I'll get back to it when Alyssa gets a chance to answer the question as far as timing goes. How the road project, how much time you think it's going to take. I still think there is some ambiguity as to what our responsibility is, because what we heard from Alyssa was that this was due to a 2003 situation.
No.
Okay. Okay.
As our administrator so clearly pointed out, this is an annual grant. This is our 2012 fiscal aid DOT grant. So this was applied for in 2012, and I believe there may have been some people in the room that were here. In 2003, the improvements were from a 2003 fiscal year municipal aid grant. In 2005, they were from the 2005 fiscal year municipal aid grant. In 2007, I think they were actually from a discretionary aid grant. But we had no plan or agreement. It was a series of projects based on traffic studies we had done in 2003 to study the entire corridor. But each project was segmented and applied for individually based on what funding was available to us and what we applied for that year. Does that make a little more sense? There was no agreement in 2003 to take over Route 70 and implement all these improvements. If it wasn't funded by the DOT, we didn't initiate it. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a 60-day contract duration. I would imagine the actual physical construction will be 30 to 45 days.
So I guess the question is, following up on Mr. Scott's question, I think, again, what was that differential in cost for rebidding, and is it worth, short-term pain for long-term gain, as they say? We better off saving on the $175,000 for a 30-day period, if that's what the construction's, and again, for the council to decide. I think they need the facts as to what that timing differential is and what that dollar differential is in order to make an educated decision as to whether or not they should go back to the other way, because we live in New Jersey and we live through construction, and a lot of times projects take longer than 30 days. Pulaski Skyway is going to close down for a while. So I think there needs to be, there seems like there's a couple things here that need to be quantified before you accept this vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Jampel, when we send that information out to Mr. Scott, we have your email. We could send it out to you as well? Sure. Okay. Any other questions this evening? Yes.
I'd like to say something that when asphalt is rebid, it's a commodity. It's an oil-based commodity, so it fluctuates, and it's a higher cost depending on what the barrel of oil is going for, because a lot of it's used in that. So that could fluctuate on the price too, going up. I don't know exactly what was previous to that, but I would imagine, because sure as gas is going up quite a bit.
Councilman Mumolo, it was for the overnight work that wasn't originally
And that's
bid.
another-
And I think this was going back 3 council meetings ago, and I have a number in my head of what the difference is, but I'm not sure if it's right, so I don't want to state it. But we'll get that information out.
No.
What was that?
Don't take a guess.
I'm not guessing. No. Because I know what the paper will read tomorrow. Okay, any further comments or questions about the consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, and no further from council, correct? I will ask for a roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
No on 6 and yes to the rest.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontarero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes. Boy, I'm so used to my computer, all this paper shuffling is driving me crazy. Okay. Moving on to bill resolution, computer 2014.
Be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Brick that the following bills be paid and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to draw orders on the treasurer for the amounts of the same. Computer bill resolution in the amount of $9,657,618.38.
Thank you. Motion and second, please.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Council Vice President Fosman, seconded by Councilwoman DeYoung. I'm going to open to the council. Do you have any questions, fellow council members?
Council President,
Yes, Mr.
I
Wright.
have a question on page 35, Remington and Vernick
Are we on that
Engineering.
one yet?
I'm not
Computer,
quite
yes.
sure what that goes back to.
Thank you. The planning board professional services.
Yes, I see. I think that you bring up an excellent point, because Remington and Vernick engineers are no longer our planning board engineers. I'd like to see if our business administrator has a question,
Okay.
an answer that she can address this with.
I would have to pull the invoices and look to see what the work was done. It was charged to escrow. But I don't know what the project is, and I'd have to check on that.
Back to you.
They are normally paid, the planning board engineer is usually always paid from the escrow account, correct? So this might be for a project that they worked on, not necessarily attending the meetings.
Correct.
Do you have an instance of where they would be paid out of the account?
There's times when the work, they wait till a certain point in time for the review of a project to be released from the planning board and into implementation before they submit invoices. That's not often very timely to the work. It is occasionally several months after the project is released from the planning board, but I have to check on the invoice and the matter that they were working on to be able to answer.
Yeah, I'd like to know
Madam President.
if
I may.
why they're being paid.
Okay, I'll check into that.
I'd like to make a
Get back
motion
to
that we, for now, we pull it and not pay them until we get full
Get more
documentation on it.
information. If it took them that long to get their bill in, it's not going to hurt them another couple of weeks. I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion to hold the Remington and Vernick engineers bill, and is this for the entire bill, including line 1 for Hallmark Homes?
Correct.
Okay. Motion made by Councilman Morris, seconded by Councilman Mumalo. And I assume we have to do a roll call?
I think we could probably vote on the bill resolution.
Yeah, I think probably what
as a
you're gonna
whole
end
with
up doing
that.
is getting a motion and a second on the bill resolution minus those entries. I think might be the cleanest way to do it.
Okay. Any further questions on the bill resolutions?
I just have a real quick question. Hopefully the snow is done. Hopefully, cross my fingers. Is there a way, I'm not saying you have it now, just a total of how much we spent on snow? I'm assuming our $1.5 million in our snow fund was gone. How much are we gonna have to, would we have to go to emergency? How would that be covered in the, whatever is left over for snow fund, or for snow plowing?
Empty your snow
yeah, there's going to be no need for an emergency because we had.
We had it,
We
yeah.
had the trust fund. And Mr. Campbell's here in the room, so yeah, I'm sure he can get that information to you soon. Was the last storm billed yet? So the last storm wasn't billed yet, so we won't
All right.
have those totals, but.
Get it
up
to me
until
when
that
you
point.
bill them. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the public on the computer bill resolutions? Mr. Scott, come on down.
I'll let you off easy tonight. Page 2, 8, 13, 14, 38. Page 2, the American traffic. I assume that's the last bill with the red light.
Yes, it is. We do have to pay for the cost up until February 18th.
Okay. I understand there just might be some soft cost involved for whatever equipment. Is that so? or-
You mean because they had to come and take down the equipment?
Yeah, you would know better than me.
You would think so. Well, they're their cameras, and they wanted them back because we're not participating in the program. I don't believe that there are soft costs, but I think that we should get back to you on that, unless our mayor knows.
This is the bill that's through February 18th. This is it. We're finished with them.
We're done.
Yes.
Thank goodness. Okay. Page 8, Brick Joint Water Fire Professional Services. I had, and again, you know I do my homework. I came in and checked some of the bills prior to this. This one and one on page 14, I do have a comment about. One of them, Alyssa happens to be here. We'll do that one first. On page 14, it was for Diamond Construction for $24,010. This actual bill was for $22,379 plus a change order. Where is Swan Beach Drive? I'm not familiar with that. Do you know?
I'm not familiar. I do have a Google map, though, and I can tell you the
We put up a
directions.
bulkhead.
Barrier Island.
Oh, on Barrier Island.
Got a good source on that.
The comment that I'd like to make as far as this is concerned, and I think it was just a mail situation because it has to go back to accounts payable. Then it goes to you to make sure the check is going to be sent out in a timely fashion. But Alyssa had to approve it. It didn't get back to purchasing. Purchasing didn't send it to them. So as of yesterday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, this was still hanging. But I called again today, and it was taken care of. But somehow there was a lapse from March 18th till, I don't think it takes 10 days to go from downstairs to upstairs. Same thing happened with the one for the brick joint. That one is for $35,290. My question there is, that was based on a contract. The
I'm sorry.
contract expired on February 14th. I know there was a 60-day extension. So has the business and finance looked into that? Because you only have until the next council meeting to really do something with that. I'm just bringing that to your attention.
Okay, Ms. Bergen can address that.
Yes, Business and Finance has discussed the agreement with the Joint Board of Fire Commissioners, and we will be addressing that at the next council meeting, making adjustments to the ordinance that covers this agreement.
Okay.
So we have discussed it as recently as this evening, and we will have an ordinance on the agenda April the 15th.
Prior to you getting here, the last contract we had, the township was getting the short end of the stick here, so I hope it.
That's
goes-
being addressed.
Okay.
And in terms of the Diamond Construction, there is a bit of a delay process in the invoices because Diamond is now using a new sub, Advanced Marine, for some of the work that they were doing, so that kind of adds another layer. I don't know if that's the layer responsible for the delay from downstairs to upstairs, but I do know that we have to check certified payroll for all the subs. That was a little bit easier when it was Diamond Construction and their employee, but they had to bring in this sub when the particular employee that was managing this project for us left. So that adds another layer of payroll certifications that our engineering office has to check into before it comes upstairs for payment.
Thank you for that answer, I appreciate that. Page 38, Starkey Keneally, there was a bill there. I'm glad I got a smile. It was $23,000. It's, irregardless of what the amount was, there was an item there regarding Food Town. I was wondering if that could be addressed. You know, are we moving forward there? I know the bill was for $874, a 5.3-hour conference, if you could update us, or if the council, that would be one of the questions regarding that particular bill. The other one of more interest to me is for Dakotas and Fitzpatrick. I guess they're our labor lawyers. As the mayor has stipulated in his presentation before, we got rid of some assistant directors. Personally, again, I haven't gotten the answers as to what insurance we're getting paid back for, which was that particular person's, and I didn't give him the title of Storm Czar, somebody else did, the previous mayor. And all of a sudden, we're still paying out for this particular individual $743. We done? When is money gonna stop being spent in this situation?
Well, I'm going to let our township attorney address his bills in the manner he sees fit.
Yeah, I'll address both. Let me take the Dakotas one first. I see those bills are broken down by matter number.
Right.
And you referred to a particular employee who was terminated, who I understand is taking some legal steps to challenge his termination. So I think what you're looking at is the legal bill to defend the township against that challenge.
Oh, okay.
So in other words, that's not going to the employee, that's going to the Labor Council for defending.
Okay. So they're representing Brick, they're
The
representing
township,
the
that is-
township against that individual?
That is correct.
As a response?
That is correct.
Okay. So the beat goes on?
As far as, you know, the bill I submitted, you were asking about Food Town. I can represent that there is a redevelopment committee of the council here.
Okay.
That obviously is one of the, if not the most important topic being discussed.
It's certainly
in that
important to the
council.
taxpayer, that's for sure.
It certainly is, and it's been sitting there for 10 years. So I know that this council and this mayor don't want it to sit there for forever. They want to take action on it. So that is being actively discussed in those committee sessions.
Okay, so again, we're accumulating bills, whether it be through you or the redevelopment council, but we're not hearing what's going on. That's my point. We're not abreast. We're still looking at an empty piece of property, not on the tax rolls. Are we going with the old plan? Are we going to, change the plan? Are we changing the developer? I think we should start getting some more input here,
Well, therein lies the problem, because, the last time the developer was in front of council, he was asking for a change in the agreement, the scope of the project and such, and that's what we are going through with the redevelopment committee and our council that represents us, as well as the developer too. I'm not sure, because we're still speaking about that, how much I can say.
And I'm not asking you to divulge any, pertinent information that is an ongoing situation.
We
I'm
are.
talking about in general, I'm just here to make sure we're moving forward. And
We
are.
can
Definitely.
assure you that we
Absolutely.
are definitely moving forward.
Okay, so
in the
who-
right direction.
Who on council is part of the redevelopment committee?
It's myself, Council President Lydecker, and Councilman Mumolo.
Yes.
Okay,
And you have our numbers, so you can reach us at any time to
and we can discuss that?
give us your ideas. Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to talk about the bill resolutions? Okay. Well, I will close to the public then and move on to roll call.
Councilman Moore.
Going to abstain on 14-01125 due to I'm a firefighter in town, and the other one that we're holding, and yes to the rest.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Are we putting in to hold that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do need to hold that. So we are voting on this bill resolution, holding Remington
Correct.
and Vernick
That's right.
engineer bills.
That's what I said.
That's right.
Okay, thank you. Then yes.
Thank you. Councilwoman Zapsik.
Abstain on Asbury Park Press and New Jersey Press Media, yes to the rest.
Councilman Mumolo.
Yes, with the hold on Remington Vernick.
Councilwoman Pontoriero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Abstain on the MUA and yes to the rest.
President Lydecker.
Yes. Okay, bill resolution, manual 2014.
Be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Brick that the following bills be paid, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to draw orders on the treasurer for the amounts of the same. Manual bill resolution in the amount of $1,437,876.67.
Thank you. Motion and second?
Motion.
Second.
Throwing me off. Motion made by Councilwoman Zapsik and seconded by Councilwoman DeYoung. Open to council and public at this time. Questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll close and ask for a roll call.
Councilman Moore.
I'm staying on township payroll, and yes to the rest.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes. Okay, moving on to ordinance on first reading. Again, there is no public hearing on ordinances on the first reading.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing the Township Code of the Township of Brick so as to amend Chapter 245 entitled Land Use.
Thank you, and I'm going to ask our township attorney for an explanation of the ordinance, please.
Yes, Council President, this ordinance would make a number of changes in the zoning districts in the township. Some of these have been in the pipeline for a while. One is to clarify what the definition of a hotel is. One is to address long and short-term medical care facilities, and a significant portion of it is to make sure that any schools that are going to be constructed are done so on appropriate land and not in the B3 and the B4 zone, which is the highly trafficked commercial zones like where Costco is and going down Brick Boulevard. So it's a variety of changes that are being made.
Okay, thank you. I'll call for motion and second, please.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman DeYoung, seconded by Councilman Mumalo. Roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontorero.
Yes.
Vice President Fosman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes. Okay, moving on to ordinances on the second reading. The first one is amended by ordinance number 27-13 for 5-year life.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending ordinance 27-13 of the Township finally adopted October 22nd, 2013, to provide for additional purpose and increase the authorization, appropriation, and section 220 costs provided therefore.
Thank you very much. We saw this at the last council meeting. This changes some of the equipment in the police department from 10-year life to 5-year life usage. It was incorrectly put in the police equipment when it should have been in the motorized equipment ordinances for the police department. So it's just moving products from one ordinance to another. There's no change in the dollars or anything like that. Does anybody from the public wish to comment or ask questions on this? Mr. Scott?
I did miss a few meetings,
Oh,
so.
could you excuse me for just a moment? I need a motion and a second. But you could stand right there, that's fine. Motion and second, please.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman DeYoung, seconded by Councilwoman Zapsik. And Mr. Scott, if you can come up again, please. I apologize for that.
Again, in section 1, the $2,166,450 includes the aggregate sum of $66,000, which is usually the down payments for whatever it is we're going to do. Where do we come up with that figure? I'm just a little confused.
Amount that you use for down payments for any capital purchases.
It's 5%.
Yeah.
On most times. Well, 5% of $2,166,000 comes to $108,322. So how did we come up with $66,000? That kind of threw me off when I looked at this and I said, this is a mistake. And even if you take the difference of the $2,099,000 compared to the $2,166,000, you come up with that $66,000, but that doesn't give you enough money for the down payments that are required by statute.
I'm not really sure, that's something I'll have to check with our CFO. It's usually 5%, it's standard 5% for all
Exactly.
capital
And it is on almost all of them, and the one that you're gonna reduce later, 2913, it works out perfectly, and it is the 5%, so. Again, I'm a money guy, and if you put this down wrong, if something happens on later on, and you've already advertised this, you can have a problem. But with that aside, and I'm sure Joanne will look into that, the items that we're buying, it doesn't stipulate, how many SUVs are we buying, and this ID utility van?
These are items that were already purchased last year, I believe.
And we're just bonding for them now?
No, we're not
No.
bonding for them. Originally, it was put in a 10-year bond ordinance, but it should have been in a 5-year bond ordinance. Almost all of our police equipment goes to the 5-year bond ordinance, but it was inadvertently placed in the 10-year ordinance.
Okay, but
So we're
you-
just changing it from one to the other.
You can't fund equipment over a 10-year life, vehicle
Okay.
equipment. It has to be within what's expected to be a useful life for a police vehicle, which is not 10 years, it's 5 years, so.
They never make 10 years as the chief.
Right, so it was put in the wrong, the state never wants you to be paying longer for a piece of equipment that is no longer useful, so.
Okay, so for,
You can have the 10, put it into the 5.
okay, so for my information then, how many SUVs did we buy at that time for this amount of money?
Our chief is here to answer that question for you. It was 5?
Should be 5.
5.
5 SUVs plus the van? Okay. My other question is, since we've just gotten a new business administrator, and again, you know, I always come up and ask about the money. Years ago, we had a problem with tax anticipation notes, and I hammered away, and I finally got the council and the necessary people to do away with them, and we saved $350,000 a year going forward for a lot of years, so good job, George. My question with this is, you bought them already, and I didn't even know that you bought them. And with this, it states that you actually use bond anticipation notes. But if you already bought them, why not just do the bond right from the beginning? The reason I'm asking, can we reduce some expenses here? Is my question, because when I looked at section 6, the aggregate amount for this bond of $2,166,000 is $885,000 in expenses, which comes to 42.15% of that amount of money. If you were a businessman, you'd only be getting 58 cents for every dollar you spent. You're out of business real quick. And thank God you're a township, because we pick up the difference. But to save money, can you consider doing that?
Well, I had two comments. One, I happen to agree 100% about tax anticipation notes, and that's a large part of the reason why we do estimated tax bills. So we have a source of revenue coming in to avoid us having to do TANs,
Believe
right?
it or not, they didn't do that here before.
Well, we're doing it now, and
Yes, you are.
the mayor made the executive decision last week to authorize Joanne to prepare estimated tax bills for this year, so those will be going out, and that's the
Oh, no,
large part of
we've
the
done
reason.
that for several years already.
Well, each year, you have to decide each year. You're going to do it for
Okay.
that year, and the decision was yes, largely in part so that we don't have to do tax anticipation notes. And secondly, in terms of the bans for the cars, my thought would be, and I would have to check with our auditor, the only reason they wouldn't bond immediately is perhaps the vehicles were part of a state contract and available, so they had to purchase them, do the bond anticipation notes while we went through the capital bond process, or they were perhaps holding that to do one large bond sale. I would have to talk with our bond counsel to determine why it was done that way.
And again, that's what's been done in past history. So we're trying to correct past mistakes and eliminate those additional expenses. And bond counsel's going to say, go ahead with the notes, because he gets paid once and it gets paid the second time around, because it's the same bonding company that we're using. So, you know what my answer would be if I was the bonding company? Go ahead, let's do it the old way. But it's a way to save money. Did you? Okay, so you're going to look into that 66,000? Okay, so that's up to you guys to handle that however you want to do that. 2913, are you on that one, or you want to wait on that one? I have a question on that. That's the next
Well,
one,
we
right?
have to do
Do this
we
one
have to get
first.
through this one first, sure. Any other questions on this ordinance? Okay, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Councilman Moore.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik.
Yes.
Councilman Mumalo.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontarero.
Yes.
Vice President Posman.
Yes.
President Leidecker.
Yes. And ordinance on second reading, amend bond ordinance number 29-13, 10-year life. Again, I thought simply, but not so much, changing equipment from 10-year life to the 5-year life bond ordinance.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending ordinance 29-13 of the Township, finally adopted October 22nd, 2013, to amend one of the purposes and reduce the authorization appropriation and section 220 costs provided therefore.
Thank you. Motion and second.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman DeYoung, seconded by Councilwoman Pontarero. Open to public. Mr. Scott?
Like I said before, I like to learn something new every day. This is a reduction according to what it says at the beginning. So the 1,113,000, and all the numbers are right, the 5% is correct on this particular one. That's why the other one really stood out. I would like to know, number one, it says acquisition of various equipment for the Township Police Department, but it doesn't say what equipment. At least what's given to the public. Do you know what equipment we bought for $375,000?
I will ask our chief to address this, since,
Okay.
if I went through the old bill resolutions, I would be able to tell you, but I don't know offhand, but I'm sure he does.
I don't have my capital equipment.
Unbelievable.
I can go get it and have it in about 10 minutes. I can read that list to you if that suffices, or if you want it back.
Chief, we could have that conversation tomorrow. I
Okay.
gotta say, when the chief says he's gonna get back to you, he gets back to
Yes,
you.
he does. Yeah, he does.
No ifs, ands, or buts. So,
Okay.
I appreciate that. But the amount of reduction, I'm a little confused as to what that is. It's a reduction, but where is the reduction? It
Give me
says
a
we're
moment.
reducing the authorization appropriation.
Would it be in the October 22nd, 2013 ordinance?
Okay, so do you know what the amount is that we reduced it by? I mean,
No.
there's no way of knowing by looking at it.
It's on that bill resolution, or it's on that, in that council package.
Okay, so what is the,
I don't have it right now.
oh,
Yes, that makes sense.
It should be what we took out of the 10 and put into the 5.
okay, now I'm really confused then, because the amounts that, one says 375, the other says 225. So is what you're saying is the difference,
That might be the 66.
150,000?
They're two separate ones.
It had to come out of the 10-year into the 5, but the
Right,
other
and-
items stayed in the 10.
And that is an increase, and that's 2713. So on 2913, which is the one that you're voting on now, it says it's a reduction, but what is the reduction? I'm usually great with numbers.
I guess we just don't know the exact cost of the 5 SUVs in the van, whatever that amount is.
That one we took care of, John.
No, but that's what's being removed from the
Yeah.
10-year to the 5-year. What happened is originally, there was a mistake made.
Okay.
They put the 5 SUVs in the van into the 10-year one. So the 10-year one has to be reduced because we're putting it over to the 5-year one, where it should have been in the first place.
So you're reducing the other one by 150,000 then? That answers that. If you changed it from 375 to doing this at 225.
It's 150.
That's 150. Correct, Business Administrator?
Correct math.
Correct.
I'm sure 5 SUVs and a van cost a lot more than 150.
Well, no,
That's about right.
Oh, that is what it is.
They actually
Okay.
cost 225.
Okay.
According to this, they cost 225. That's what you're taking out, that's what you moved.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And the 10 was at 375. If that's the explanation I'm getting.
Yes.
You know what, so This one seemed a little bit difficult. Maybe I'll have a conversation with the business administrator at her convenience. Okay? Is that okay with you? Okay. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Any other questions on this ordinance? Council, clear as mud?
No.
Okay, I am going to take roll call on this.
Councilman Moore?
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik?
Yes.
Councilman Mamalo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontoriero?
Yes.
Vice President Fosman?
Yes.
President Leidecker?
Yes. Ordinance number 3, amend chapter 288, vehicles and traffic, exemption for handicapped vehicles.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 288 of the Township Code entitled Vehicles and Traffic to add an exception for handicapped vehicles to Section 288-32 entitled Schedule 2, Parking Prohibited Certain Hours.
Thank you. This ordinance was amended in 2009, and at that time, the handicap provision was removed inadvertently. We had gone back and we checked the minutes to see why, but there was no indication that there was a desire to do so, to take out this amendment. So we are just adding it back in for the handicap parking on the street at certain hours. Is there any questions about this ordinance from the public? Council? Okay. I will ask for, where am I? Motion, please, and second.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman DeYoung, seconded by Councilman Moore. No questions from the public, so I'll take roll call, please.
Councilman Moore?
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik?
Yes.
Councilman Mamalo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontoriero?
Yes.
Vice President Fosman?
Yes.
President Leidecker?
Yes. Ordinance number 4, amend chapter 175 fees, emergency medical services.
An ordinance of the Township of Brick, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending Section 175-17 of the Township Code entitled Maximum Fee Reimbursement Charges to establish the maximum fee to be charged for basic life support emergency medical services.
Thank you. Under section 1, letter A, we are changing the base rate. It was originally $650. It is now going to be $800 per transport. B, the mileage charge was $10. We are amending it to be $30. The rest of the ordinance remains the same. Our contract with Revenue Guard does not have to be changed. This is the company that collects for our services because it is based on a percentage. Is there any questions about this ordinance from the public? Mr. Scott?
Council President.
I know, motion and second.
I actually wasn't going to say that. No, some of the items in C, other fees, also changed and a couple were added.
Okay, because I looked at the previous ordinance and I didn't see that. Could you clarify what actually changed?
I believe number 7 is new, and the other ones, the best I can tell you right now without having the code in front of me is 3 or 4 of them increased by a minor amount.
Okay. Hold it right there for a moment. I just need a motion and second.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Councilwoman Zapsik, seconded by Councilwoman DeYoung. Open to public. Mr. Scott?
Council President, I'd really like to compliment the mayor and give him my personal thanks, and also while the police chief is here, I had a discussion regarding the increase in the ambulance fees, which we were getting $650, and researching that whole situation, finding out that Medicare approved rate was $800 almost on a national basis. Going over the figures of what the chief gave me on the amount of calls last year, this is going to generate revenue in excess of $800,000 a year. So I was a little pushy, I might say, to try to get this moved as quickly as possible, because if you take that amount and divide it by 12, you're looking at $66,000 a month, roughly, that we'll be getting and that we could really use. So again, I want to thank the mayor for moving this forward. I appreciate that, and Chief, for all your help on working that out. I think it's going to really benefit the township a lot. My question regarding the increase in the amount of revenue that we're going to get, wondering if you're just going to put that into the general treasury, because I did have an idea about that, and I spoke to the mayor about this a while back. We have nowhere to keep this equipment, so the life of these ambulances, and we bought very expensive police trucks that sit outside. The longevity is decreased by the weather and the elements and whatnot. Wondering if you could consider, or again, talk to the administration as to taking some of that money and delegate it to where we can put up a building that ultimately we will get a longer life and stretch it from 5 years that they're sitting there, we will get 10 years out of it. So that's entirely up to business and finance, but again, I want to thank you for moving this bill the way you
Okay.
did. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we will have definitely open discussions with the administration through the Business and Finance Committee about that.
I have a comment.
Any other questions?
Council
Yes.
President, I have a comment. I'd like to thank the mayor, too, because, Mr. Scott, you were on the transition team and well aware of various things that were going on before the new administration took over. And the mayor did a great job in handling the whole ambulance, raising the rate on that, too. Just want to give him credit for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Seeing no other comments, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Councilman Moore?
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung?
Yes.
Councilwoman Zapsik?
Yes.
Councilman Mummolo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontoriero?
Yes.
Vice President Fosman?
Yes.
President Leidecker?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to public comments. Please note that each person addressing the council during any section of the meeting during which public comment is permitted shall limit his or her remarks to 5 minutes pursuant to Brick Township Administration Code Section 2-33B. Would anyone, yes, Mr. Gross?
I've got a question with regards to what's happening with,
Please state your name for the record, sir. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Richard Gross, 29 Greenbrier Boulevard.
Thank you.
Okay. I have a question with regards to exit 91 on the Parkway.
Okay.
What's happening here on Burnt Tavern Road over the bridge covering over the Parkway is absolutely disgraceful. The potholes are just unreal. And it seems that nothing has been done to ease it until they get things completed. But I'm wondering, is there a plan that one could see what they're planning to do with exit 91? What properties they're taking care of, and how they're moving the banks, et cetera?
Yes, Councilman Mamala.
Okay. I believe something was presented to the township years ago on the whole change in the intersection. That's been in plan for a long time. And I know there were meetings here. I didn't attend them, but I know there were meetings for the public to come in and take a look at it. And I'm sure there's something in engineering which shows that you could look at if you want, at your leisure.
Where could I find this? Or
That
where-
would be down, I believe, Mayor.
It would actually be for the county portion, the county engineer has them, Frank Scardino. And actually, I have a phone conference with him either tomorrow, in the next couple of days, about that particular county road there, with the problems with the potholes and all. But definitely who has the plans is right here in Brick at Senator Holzapfel's office. They have the plans.
Okay.
So you can take a look at them there. I'm sure that, call in advance, let them know you're coming, they can pull those plans out. This way you don't have to go to Tom's River.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Okay, if you could leave them with Jillian and she will pass them around, thank you.
Can you please
I'm
state your
sorry, we
name and
need your
address,
name,
please?
I'm Rosemary Ackerman, 153 Van Art Drive, Brick, New Jersey.
And I'm Betty Leeds, 44 Bon Air Drive.
Thank you.
We're here tonight to request to install and maintain outdoor pickleball courts in the Township of Brick. Seniors have suffered especially through Superstorm Sandy, and in the aftermath, they could use something positive in their lives. Pickleball is a racket sport which combines the element of badminton, tennis, and table tennis. It is a racket sport in which 2 to 4 players use solid paddles, made of wood or composite materials to hit a polymer perforated ball over a net. It was designed to be easy to learn and play whether you're 5, 85, or somewhere in between. Pickleball is actually one of the fastest growing sports in the United States for seniors and even young adults. Over 120 people are registered to play at the Civic Center in Chambers Bridge Road in the winter, and they even have given us an extra day and longer hours because of the large turnout. The winter season begins in September and ends on April 26th. Some seniors who live in adult communities complain in warmer seasons that they have pickleball courts. However, many of us that do not live in adult communities and do not have any access to a court in the spring or summer and fall months would like the ability to play outdoors. Pickleball has been popular in retirement communities for many years because it is not as hard as tennis. One thing about pickleball from a city standpoint is the low budget to make it available. At minimum, if the service is good, all you have to do is add yellow stripes to a tennis court for pickleball boundaries. Tennis uses white lines. Having different net is appreciated by players because the nets are lower than in tennis. Also, the surrounding fence and lighting for evening play is good. We are suggesting converting the tennis court in Angela M. Hubbard Park and Belpont Road. This court is very rarely used for tennis and could possibly be converted into 2 pickleball courts. In addition, as you know, Hubbard Park is right in between Shore Acres and Baywood, 2 of the hardest hit sandy communities in Brick, and for that matter, New Jersey. Seniors and families in these sections could use a lift and activities to divert their minds to something positive and healthy, even if just for a few hours a week before getting back to rebuilding. We are aware that there are parks being considered for capital improvements, with Hubbard Park being one of them. If it is agreed, pickleball should be included in the capital plan. A minimum of 2 courts in one location would be the preferred way for a host of reasons. For example, socialization between seniors. You can change partners between each set, and you can be able to run mini tournaments. Thought also needs to be put in on how best to secure the courts so as not to experience vandalism or use other than pickleball, for example, no skateboarding. I have attached a description in the handouts of the pickleball court specifications. I've also attached a table displaying the number of senior citizens in New Jersey versus the number of Florida. Florida is the pickleball capital of the USA. Not only would it help to keep seniors in shape, but also give them a social aspect. We had given Mayor Ducey our request last week, and he is forwarding it to the Parks Recreation. We thought we would like to explain it from our aspect prior to when it comes before the council. Betty Leach would also like to say a few words.
I just want to say that it's not only good physically, but it's also good mentally. I lost my husband like 2 years ago to ALS, and I was quite devastated, and I saw pickleball advertised, and I played pickleball, and it just kind of gave me a new outlook. So it really does a lot for you physically and mentally. And I believe all the seniors who go to the Civic Center and play pickleball outdoors, they just have a special drive for it, and it makes you young again. It just does something for you physically and mentally. So
You are all more than welcome to come and just see how much enjoyment everyone gets from playing at the Civic Center. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
And I am going to make a formal request to our Parks and Rec Committee
Yes.
to definitely address this issue when it comes to redesigning the parks,
Absolutely.
or if
Yeah.
there's any other space in town that we could set this up at. Thank you
We'll
very
take a
much,
look.
ladies.
Thank you very much.
And besides the Parks and Rec Committee, I also wanted it to go to the project engineers for each of the parks. So I think they got that word over the last week after I got the email.
Angela Hibbert's being redone, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that Colorado Park?
I'm gonna go with Mr. Foster first.
Pickleball.
There's one other thing, too. I'm sorry. I know the Dan Santinello was looking into continuing it indoors as well over at the Civic Plaza where they currently play. I don't know where that was going, so.
It's a good idea for the winter. Tough pickleball winter, that's for sure.
This is public comments, right?
Yes,
I
sir.
came in late, so I'm sorry about that. I had other things to do. Sam Foster, 108 Chico Drive. Two quick things. First of all, I want to bring this up that I heard on the radio, the TV today, that another town in New Jersey was removing their red light cameras. So I wanted to thank Mayor Ducey because he's a trendsetter on this issue, and he did follow through on it and his pledge to remove them, and that's very good. I think it's like, I've said this before, I think it's a safety issue. So removing them will make the township safe, and the state as well. So I forgot the name of the town that is removing them, but so I thank Mayor Ducey for that because I think it's an important safety measure. That's just my opinion. And the other thing, issue was that I want to know, this is about, again, something I just noticed, came home from shopping at ShopRite, and the construction that was begun years ago on a housing project behind ShopRite on Chambers Ridge Road. For a long time, that was all, the woods were like cut down, so it was like barren, you know, just empty. And now it looks like there's some construction going on there. And I want to know if, I forgot exactly, it's been so long since that was started and sold and all this other things going on with it, I don't remember the specifics. And I understand that a different administration and township attorney was in charge of the town at that time as far as like, how it was supposed to be built and everything. But I don't know if this would be proper for the council meeting or the planning board, but is there going to be a change in traffic patterns on Chambers Bridge or in order to accommodate the traffic from that housing project? It's been so long I forgot exactly the issues, but I live off of Chambers Bridge, and you know, I'm just concerned about that. Does anybody have any information about the traffic patterns or anything?
No, I can just tell you that was, I believe that was 10 years ago.
Yeah,
that
it's been a
was
while, yeah.
approved. I don't know if the planning board's addressed it in the interim or made any changes to it, and I frankly don't recall myself what the traffic patterns were going to be.
It's fine, you know, I just, it's been a long time, so, you know, I just want to concern about that. And the other issue that I had was about, a similar issue was, the Food Town site. If there's going to be any, I know that we have plans, again, it's been going back and forth as to what eventually is going to be built there. But are there any plans, I asked this a while ago, are there any plans to have a hearing, not a hearing, maybe that's the wrong word, but have them, a presentation from whoever the current developer is? Are there any plans for the township to have that, or again, is this something that would it be addressed by the planning board as far as the Food Town site development?
The current status is that there is a redevelopment plan in place that has not been changed. There was a presentation made, I think it was a year or two ago, by the redeveloper. That was the redeveloper's desire to have changes, and no action was taken. If any action is taken to change that plan in any way, it will be done at a public hearing, and it will be in front of the council. But I can tell you that there is no, to my knowledge, there is no meeting scheduled, and I don't think any is contemplated in the near future. If there is one, that will certainly be advertised, and people will know about it before it happens.
Sure, thank you. And like I said, again, I want to compliment Mayor Ducey on his work with the township. I think his plans are very good, and I think he's doing a very good job, and I want to compliment him for it, because when politicians do something bad, it seems like everybody's right there to criticize them. I know I've done it myself, and when politicians do something that's positive, they're not really often complimented or encouraged along that way. So thank you, Mayor Ducey. The notice that I received, the information I received about the town in New Jersey, I forgot who it was, removing the red light cameras is really something that I think benefits our citizens.
Pohatcom.
You know who I'm talking about, yeah. Because there aren't that many towns in New Jersey that can have them originally, but now they're starting to remove them, and I think that's, you've been a trendsetter on that, and I want to thank you for that, so, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Slunka?
Good evening. John Slukas, 950 Sylvia Court, Evergreen Woods. I'm going to read my letter. I sent one out last time, but I wasn't here. I'll read this one. Dear Mayor Ducey, Council President Susan Lydecker, all Brick Councilmen and Councilwoman, this is an open letter to all Brick residents, the residents of Ocean County, and the residents of Shore Corridor and their representatives as well. Let us all ask ourselves, have we done enough? Have we done all we could? Driving up the Parkway and back after the last 2 snowstorms, I think it's actually 3 snowstorms now, but I noticed the pristine look of the snow surrounding the 8 lanes of the Garden State Parkway and had to realize that although driving could be, dangerous to me and other drivers, I also had to realize how dangerous it was for the residents surrounding the parkway as trucks rumbled down the road at that point. I asked myself, have I done enough? Have I done all I could? Enough for the safety of the children waiting near the bus stops, heading to the schools, with the slick and slippery roadway just 50 feet away. As I traveled the parkway just one day later, I saw the snow, not so attractive as the day before, but because of the black soot that now partially obscured the once clean snow. I thought to myself, have I done enough? Have I done all I could? Enough for the health of the children that are breathing in that soot each and every day. Enough for the health of the seniors developing lung cancer because of the pollutants spilling over on them each day. The day after that, I traveled the parkway and seeing the snow with its black coat laying on the side of the parkway, the unspoiled look now gone, and thoughts of the children's lungs that were once immaculate but are now showing signs of damage as more and more of them carried inhalers to schools to stop the wheezing and coughing from the bronchial attacks and enhanced asthma conditions. I then have to ask myself once again, have I done enough? Have I done all I could? Enough to prevent the destruction of their lives as these conditions become irreversible. And we all stand back and know they will have months and years laying in bed, choking, coughing, gasping for air. And if they can rise, we'll always have to drag an oxygen tank around with them until they die prematurely. I saw my father do that for 2 years. I don't want the kids here doing it also. Yes, I signed the destruction to the NJ Garden State Parkway. Yes, I wrote letters to the New Jersey Turnpike Commissioner James Simpson at the New Jersey Department of Transportation, P.O. Box 600, Trenton, New Jersey. Yes, I wrote to Executive Director Joseph Mazek at 591 Main Street in Woodbridge. Yes, I wrote to the Commission Treasurer Michael DuPont at 229 Broad Street, Red Bank, New Jersey. Yes, I wrote to Governor Christie at 609-292-6000 and at P.O. Box 001, Trenton, New Jersey. And yes, I wrote to Assemblyman Wisniewski at 133 Main Street, Suite A in Sayreville. But I realized this can't really be enough. I thought that by banding together in some small but growing groups, that the government would show some concern. But so far, the almighty dollar and strong-arm political backers are still winning out. So I know I haven't done enough. Can we all look in the mirror and ask ourselves, have we done enough? Have we done all we could? Sometimes big government feels they are running our lives and will do what they want, when they want, to who they want, but they must be stopped. They do work for each and every one of us, and the citizens must come first. This isn't the USSR, where the government takes control of you. It's the USA. But do something before big government takes it away. Let us all ask ourselves, Have we done enough? Have we done all we could? Thank you. And I have those plans. I'll get it to you next time, or you could email me.
Thank you. Mr. Gross?
Real quick, the question of this gentleman before was with regards to the traffic pattern on the new construction going on. As a member, a past member of the planning board, I was on the board at that time. We spent quite a bit of time on planning and recommending a traffic pattern that would satisfy the needs for a large development. Thank you.
Mr. Gross, did you hear, Mr. Sluka has those plans too, so.
I heard that.
Okay, you can exchange your email addresses.
Yes, gentlemen, in the green jacket.
Steve Brill, Evergreen Woods. Ocean County proposes to build a sound wall to protect Cherrywood Farm development for $500,000 based on its assessment of the detrimental effects as a result of its construction of Exit 91. It should be noted that this is to be financed by Ocean County taxpayers. In effect, the county has declared that Evergreen Woods homeowners must contribute their tax money to mitigate Cherrywood's noise problem, while their own more significant problem exists and the county refuses to provide the same relief. It should be noted that this money is probably bonded for 10 years plus interest, so it costs us, the taxpayers, $50,000 per year, plus, for argument's sake, 4% interest. Certain council persons have stated that the reason the county did not appear in front of the Brick Township Council was due to the residents' opposition to the condemnation proceedings of a property that the county needed for Exit 91 construction. My feeling is that their refusal to appear was used as an excuse to hide the fact that the county knows that a sound problem exists at Evergreen Woods as a result of their own sound study. And they would have to make known publicly that they are building a sound wall to protect some residents but not others. I want the council to negotiate with the county for a sound wall for Evergreen Woods.
Thank you. Mr. Finelli?
Rick Finelli, 24 Meadow Point Drive. I got a few questions, comments. First one is, last year at this time I made a comment to the council that we're at a distinct disadvantage because you have copies of what's being presented and we don't. So we have to sit there like a bunch of dummies or try to copy stuff as fast as people can talk, and you miss a lot that way. So I don't know what you can do about that, but I'll bring it up again, except for the mayor, by the way. You did have a presentation, so you're excluded from that. But now it's your turn. And I'll get into that a little later, with my other questions. It's a good thing that you reduced the budget by $3.3 million, so you get an attaboy, but I take them back as fast as I give them, so. It's not a good thing that the tax levy's going up, right? Because that's really what we care about. I mean, it's nice that you cut the budget, but if my taxes go up, that's not so nice. And I appreciate the fact that it's below the 2%, but actually the people in Brick are the highest tax ones in the country. And I've said this before, we're not looking for a 2% increase, we're not even looking for the same increase or no increase. We're looking for a reduction in our taxes. So that's what you gotta work on, okay? A couple of questions. Special emergency principal pay down, $3.5 million, what is that? Let's understand the impact on municipal budget. Stop the clock while we're talking.
This is this year's scheduled payment of what we have to pay back for what we borrowed to get through the special emergency of Sandy.
Okay. Is there money coming back to us from from any of that FEMA or anything?
We are still processing those reimbursements diligently, aggressively, and have had FEMA auditors here with us for the past 2 weeks. So, yes, we're still working very diligently on that.
Can you give me a ballpark?
I don't have a ballpark. The project worksheets are an evolving process, so we haven't finished putting numbers together. We're adapting to what changes the auditors recommend that we make in ways that will help us enhance the dollar amount that we're reimbursed.
Okay. Just for my own clarification, sustainable rateable loss, 357 million, that's the taxes you're not collecting because of the damaged properties?
Yes.
Okay. Second question is, the $1.940 million, that's just that part of the municipal budget that you came up short? And the municipal part is about 30%, so when I go across the street in a couple of weeks to fight that battle, that number would be bigger because their budget is 46% of the budget?
Yes, that number will be 16% higher than this number, if I
Okay.
do the math right.
Just so I have it clear, because it's gonna tell me no.
And last year, our rateable loss, it was 454 million, so it's now down to 357. But, you know, I just said earlier, it's gonna take years, so that number, you know, will slowly go down. I mean, it's 1.9 million this year, it'll be down more next year as people get back in their house.
You don't mind if I quote you, right?
I hope people are getting back in their houses. $357 million worth of ratables is a lot of
No, but I mean,
different
the impact
houses.
the impact on the budget is that it's more for the school district than it is for you because they have a big piece of the budget.
Absolutely.
Okay. The next chart, just a comment, I know you're gonna stop borrowing, but we really need to stop borrowing a lot more than we're doing. I heard you say several times that the surplus was $7 million. We have to educate you on the rules of rounding. My report says $7.74 million. That's a lot closer to 8 million than it is to 7.
Yes,
I told you
even
I'd
better.
take them back as fast as I give them, so.
Yes, so I guess you're right, there's another 774,000 in surplus that I'm happy with.
What are we looking for a top limit of that? We're almost at $8 million now. You have a cutoff point where you're gonna say we got enough in the bag?
You'd like to have about 10% for the bonding agencies, 10% of your budget.
Right, so how much is that?
The amount we're at now is, if I remember the calculation correctly, is about 8%.
Okay. I don't mind you having something in the bag, but if my taxes are going up so you can have more in the bag for something that might happen, that kind of gets stuck here. You know what I'm saying? This
But
is
if
what you
the-
might have money, but in the meantime, the tax levy is going up, so we have something that might happen.
The lower surplus impacts our bond rating, so we would end up paying a higher interest.
But since we're gonna stop borrowing money so much.
Well, if you remember
I'm not easy now, I'm not easy.
when the surplus was $48,000 only, 48,000, remember what happened to our taxes? It was like 24% in that 1 year to
I
make
hear
up.
you, but I'm looking
So,
for like, when's it gonna stop? All right, just for my own education also, there's a lot of talk about tax appeals, right? You might have mine next, who knows?
you missed the deadline. That deadline was today.
I'll wait till next year, I'll wait till next year. I know it's not today, I'll wait till next year. I'll wait till I get my estimated tax or whatever, and my new flood insurance bill and everything else. But tax appeal is a double-edged sword, so when somebody goes in for a tax appeal, and we talked about 7 years, so not only do you have to give all that money back, but then you're collecting less taxes, so you're taking a double hit on that, right?
Correct.
All right.
And 7 years is quite unusual. It's usually 2 or 3, but 7, that's the first time I've ever seen 7 years.
They're on the, I look at them, they're on the agenda every month, and they start to add up. You mentioned your overtime plan. Could you tell me briefly what your overtime plan is? And let me tell you why I'm asking, all right? And you have to check these numbers, because I wrote them down quickly. And unfortunately, the chief is not here, but it had to do with his numbers, all right? See if I got them right. Last year, he had an overtime budget of $1.3 million, and he spent $1.524 million. Did I get that right?
That's right.
That's right? Okay? Who said that, right?
Me.
Yes.
All of us.
Well, okay, this year, he's asking for about $1.5 million, all right? So, as I've said before, so I'm not saying anything, you gotta go where the money is, and that's where the big money is, in the overtime, and I've had a meeting with you, and I've given you information. That doesn't sound like a reduction in overtime to me, that sounds like an increase in overtime, so, basically, you know, what is the overtime plan, what is it, what are you looking for?
We're getting input from each department in order to put it into place. It didn't have time to make it in a budget, which just has to be introduced so early in the year, early enough, you know, even though it is April already, because one of the aspects is special officer, the chief touched on it briefly, but special officers doing the booking. So when the police officer comes in at the end of a shift, or even in the middle of a shift, either way, and instead of having a regular police officer here doing all the photograph, the fingerprint thing, the taking the information, where do you work, all that stuff. I don't know if you've ever been in that position, but it takes takes time to do all that. So now what happens is, if the police officer's in the middle of his shift, he drops the prisoner off, leaves, gets back out on the road, which makes us all safer. Secondly, if it's at the end of his shift, he drops the prisoner off and goes home, because there's going to be a special officer now who's going to do all the booking. And that's going to cut down on overtime, definitely.
When I look at overtime, is there anything that goes into that overtime category besides overtime?
Well, there's some things called, when there's road jobs, it's really a pass-through. So, for example, when New Jersey Natural Gas has to open up the road, they need the police officer out there with the cones in order to direct traffic so everybody's safe. The police officer is making overtime, but New Jersey Natural Gas is the one paying for it.
So that would go in there, but you don't know how much that is?
No, off the top of my head, I don't.
Well, I'm going to lay some numbers on you, and I hope you write them down so you can look into this, all right? And I mentioned this at a meeting last time. I gave you a number of $688,000, and that was for, I guess, the category of superior officers, right? That's $688,000. Oh, by the way, before I do that, my overtime numbers only go up to the beginning of December, so they're not full year numbers. There's another month in there, because when I did this, I didn't have that, all right? So this is only 11 months. $688,000 for the supervisors. That includes the deputy chief, the 2 captains, the 7 lieutenants, and the 18 sergeants. I'm assuming that those people do not sit on construction sites. Would that be a safe assumption? Okay, so I mean, the big one in there was the sergeants at $486,000. I looked at the 3 big, the EMTs was $181,000, and I looked at the dispatchers, which is $121,000. Right, so that adds up to $990,000. Now, if you look at the patrol category, that's $1.636 million, which means in order for the total overtime to be $1.5 million, over $1 million of that in the patrol category had to be construction. Over $1 million. Now, I don't know whether that's accurate or not. I guess you have to find that out, because I have no way of knowing that. If you add all that up, it comes to $2.62 million versus the 1.54 that I heard. So you need to look into that, because that's a lot of money. The other question I had, and maybe somebody can answer this, is overtime based on just the base salary or the base salary plus the longevity salary? Can anybody answer that?
Whatever your salary is, your base salary plus longevity, that's added into your salary. So your overtime is based on your total compensation. The longevity becomes built into your salary.
That's a considerable amount of money, longevity pay. Is that something that's in a contract? Okay, my last question on overtime. I was a little surprised to see
He's on
everybody
overtime.
but the police
He is
chief
on
that
He's
told
on
me.
overtime. I threw it out there. I said, "You're on overtime."
You're
The
4
police
minutes
chief's
over.
not eligible for overtime. The
wanna
police
cut
chief is
costs?
not eligible for overtime. He's a contractual employee, he's not part of the union. He's a contractual employee directly to the mayor and council.
Okay.
I'm
But
sorry,
everybody
what
else
was
is.
that question, Mr. Finelli? What was the question that you asked? What was the question that you just asked?
Why the police chief did not receive
No, not the police chief, that the other people did. I mean, like, you got the assistant, the captains, lieutenants. I thought
Contractually.
They were like salary positions, like when you go out into management, in any business, management doesn't get overtime. I would assume they're in the management category, but I guess in their contract somewhere.
Contract.
Everybody but the chief is in the contract.
Okay, and the longevity pay, I think somebody told me one time that that's so people don't leave.
It's contractual. It's part of what they're contracted to receive for the
Mr.
amount of
Finelli, you're over
time
5
they
minutes.
serve.
Mr. Finelli, thank you for your questions. I
10
appreciate
minutes.
it.
You're at 10 minutes.
They would have been good questions to ask during the budget.
Mr. Finelli used your 5 minutes from the next meeting. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Yo.
Actually, I got the 5 minutes from George.
Okay.
He left, he gave it to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wish to be heard this evening?
Mr. Finelli took their 5 minutes.
Closing public comments, going on to council comments, and I'd like to start with the mayor.
Thank you very much. Just to let everybody know, F Cove is going to be open again this year. It's going to have the same restrictions as it has last year with the additional security patrols of our police officers going through there, as well as everybody policing themselves because, as you know, it's a federal property and it could be taken away like it was 2 summers ago. I did want to commend Alyssa Cummins, our township engineer, for getting, we had appealed on behalf of residents with FEMA to get people removed from the V zones. And we had over 70 homes removed from the V zones, which is great. The V zones are the ones where you have to actually put your houses up on pilings. And obviously that's an expense to raise your house and put it on pilings. And if you didn't, your flood insurance, you couldn't get flood insurance. And so we were successful on 76 homes, getting them removed from the V zone. So that's an extreme savings for all those residents. Also, the federal government has released the new maps. There's hard copies. They're available here in the Community Development and Land Use Department, right down the stairs from here. And there's a 90-day appeal process that started on March 28th. And appeals must be filed through the township on or before June 25th. Call 732-262-1040 for more information. But that's the other appeal. If you believe you're in the wrong zone, you need to appeal because these are the maps where you have to appeal. It's only 90 days from March 28th. So please spread the word to your friends and family and neighbors, anybody who might be affected by the new flood zones and the new maps. To make life easier on our residents, we instituted Saturday hours at the Community Development and Land Use Department. They're going to happen once a month. They're from 8 a.m. to 12 noon. And we held the first one this past Saturday, and the next one is going to be on April 26th. So if you don't have the opportunity to get a permit during the week, during regular business hours, you do have the opportunity to come on in and speak with the engineer department, the building department, the zoning department, 8 a.m. to 12 noon. So just trying to make life easier on people so they don't have to take a day off from work to get permits. Tomorrow is Light It Up Blue campaign for autism awareness. And I just wanted to, make everybody aware of that. And in addition, myself and some members of the council are going to be celebrity bartenders at Joe's Crab Shack sometime this month. And I'm announcing it here. I don't know the firm date, but please look for it on Facebook and through the municipal update, which hopefully you get the municipal update, which is email alerts. If you don't, send an email to municipalupdate@twp.brick.nj.us with the word subscribe in the subject line, and we'll let you know when that's going to happen. So what happens is it's celebrity bartending night, and any tips that myself and the council members make gets donated to the autism awareness campaign. And our resident, John Hall, who works at Joe's Crab Shack, is the one who let us know about this opportunity, and we're definitely going to take advantage of it. We just have to figure out what date. We don't know the date yet. Sunday, April 6th, the Brick Elks is hosting a drug awareness program from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. The police chief, myself, and Ocean County Prosecutor Joe Coronado are all the guest speakers, and there's going to be other presentations happening that day. Please come out, become informed about what type of drug problems there are in town. There's a definite heroin problem all over the county, and which includes us. And come out for some awareness and get educated on the issue, so you can help educate your friends and family who can't make it. That's about it. Thank you, everybody, for listening to my budget presentation earlier tonight. And if anybody has any questions, they can contact me by email or call into the office, and we can answer those if, in case you didn't want to get up to the microphone and ask anything about the budget. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you.
I had an opportunity to visit the Relief Center at the church today, and they asked me to mention that they're having a Rockaway Hunger concert this weekend. All proceeds will go to benefit victims of Hurricane Sandy. Tickets are $7 at the door, and every dollar donated is matched for this cause at the Visitation Church on Manaloking Road in Brick. The concert's at 6:45 p.m. and will be at the church basement. They're also in desperate need of toilet paper, paper towels, cleaning products. And those donations are accepted between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. Monday through Saturdays.
Thank you very much. Do you have anything?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Thank you. Ladies?
Nothing, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Moore?
Thank you, Madam President. A couple things. Again, I'd like to reach out to the mayor, Scott, and the chief for their presentations tonight, so thank you very much for that. Also reach out to Alyssa Cummins for also doing bringing up some professional advice for a couple of our public entities. Also, I'd like to thank the people of Brick for supporting Wyatt and his family on Friday night's basketball game. It was a great event. It worked out extremely well. I know the mayor was there and his family. We did win, so I have to just rub it a little bit. So yes, the PBA and the police officers, we did win. So once again, I'd like to thank everyone for showing our support. I know this town has a big heart, so it was a stand-up, just about standing room only. I would say roughly about 400 people showed up plus. So it was a great night. So it was once again to the police department for doing a phenomenal job, what they do every year. And please continue to drive safe out there. And thank you for your time. Thank you.
Very much. Councilwoman?
I'd just like to thank the mayor for his budget presentation tonight. Along with Scott and the chief, I look forward to working on this budget and seeing what we can do for the residents here. I'm just going to give a couple quick dates. Hopefully spring is on its way. And with that, we have all of our Little Leagues beginning. This Saturday, Brick Little League's opening day as at 9 a.m. at Tiller Field. The following Saturday, April 12th, we have Brick American Little League at 9:45 at the Bolin Sports Complex. Then on, April 26th at 5:45, I believe it's a Friday evening, the girls softball has their opening day. And then on April 26th, is Brick Day at the Blue Claws Stadium. The mayor and I believe council president will be throwing out an opening pitch, and it'll be a great day for Brick with, I believe, the high school teams are playing each other after the game. And then on April 22nd is our Mayor's Night In at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. over in Council AB. And that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman?
Thank you. I'd like to start out by thanking the Boy Scouts from Troop 6 for coming out tonight and leading us in the flag salute, and I wish them well on earning their badges. I would also like to thank Ginger Reinhold and Kathy Lindenbaum from the Rotary. I learned a long time ago not to refer to my female friends as old friends, so it was good to see longtime friends, and I wish them well with their event. I encourage all residents who are available Saturday to go out and support it. And also like to thank new friend, Mary Ann Butler, who I met for the first time this evening, for coming out tonight and educating us on Child Abuse Prevention Month. And I applaud the Brick Women's Club for their efforts in that regard. And then finally, I'd like to mention that the Guild Theater Works, which is formerly the Brick Community Players, is opening their 2014 season this weekend with a production of Love, Loss, and What I Wore by Nora and Delia Ephron. That will run this weekend and next weekend at the Bob Anstett Cultural Arts Center on Herbertsville Road. It is a play about women, clothes, and memory, covering all the important subjects. And I have the inside scoop that it's not a girls-only production, that husbands are welcome, and anyone who's had to hold his wife's handbag while she tries on clothes in the dressing room will find a lot to empathize with in this production. You can reserve in advance. It's highly recommended. The seating is very limited at the Cultural Arts Center, probably about 70 or 80 seats. So walk-ins are not guaranteed of a seat. If you call the hotline at the Recreation Department, 732-262-1006, and leave your name and telephone number, any other pertinent contact information, and the number of seats that you need, someone will call you back to confirm your reservation. And there's a $5 donation at the door, and I've been to a number of these events. They're very worthwhile. You can't go anywhere and get that kind of entertainment in your hometown for $5 or less these days, so I'd encourage everyone to take advantage of that. And that's all I have this evening.
Thank you very much. Councilman?
I'd like to start off by thanking Mr. Harvey and the Boy Scout Troop 6 for leading us to Pledge of Allegiance. Also like to thank our former Councilwoman, Mary Ann Butler, for her presentation for the Brick Women's Club on child abuse prevention. Also Kathy Lindenbaum and Ginger Reinhold on their Walk for Humanity. Hopefully they'll have a great turnout. Encourage everybody to come out for that. Also like to thank the department heads, the mayor, Scott and the chief for presenting their budgets, doing a good job in keeping things down and trying to get things under control. Also have some news which I'm not sure exactly on the dates, but it looks like the governor's making Route 35 stay open for the summer season. And I believe it's going to start on May 22nd, that they're going to halt construction on Route 35 through September. So that's going to allow tourists to visit our shores and hopefully keep the businesses alive during the summer months. We'll have more information. I'm sure the mayor has something.
One thing on that is that they're not stopping construction in Brick, they're stopping everywhere else.
Oh, okay. I didn't get the full thing on it. Well, anyway, partial. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman?
I have no comments. April Fools.
Oh, you got,
I had to. I want to thank everyone who gave wonderful presentations tonight, particularly the Boy Scouts, and Marianne, who gave the wonderful presentation on child abuse. Again, I encourage everyone, look around you, look at the children around you. If you think that you are seeing abuse, it's 877-NJ-ABUSE. Please call the hotline. I also just want to use this bit of time as a public service announcement. I don't know if anyone's familiar with a wonderful program we have in Brick, which is called Project Icebox. This is a program for seniors, 60 plus. If you go down to 373 Adamston Road in Brick and see Deb Welty, she will give you one of these lovely little packets. Inside the packet is going to be an instruction manual of what to do with it. It's going to be a form for you to fill in with your doctor's names, your allergies, what medications that you're on. You put them all in the pouch. You fill out one form for each member of your household. And it comes with a sticker that you put on the front door or on a window near the front door, and that alerts our wonderful EMS to know that there is a Project Icebox. You put this, it has a magnet on the back. You affix it to the front of your refrigerator. These two in combination could potentially save your life, give your family the ability to know where you are as soon as possible. All of the information contained in the form are subject to the HIPAA regulations, so this information cannot be disclosed, but it does give the emergency contact information as well. Again, our EMS workers, if they see this sticker, they're going to know to look for this pouch. And in this pouch will be all the information about your doctor and all the other information that an EMS person would need. So I urge everyone, for your mothers, for your aunts, for your friends, for your family that are 60-plus, please go down and speak to Deb Welty, the Director of Senior Services, and get yourself a Project Icebox and get it for those that you love. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Do I get one?
Yes.
I'd like to thank everybody, the mayor, Chief Berquist, and Scott for doing the presentations tonight, the Boy Scouts, and the Women's Club for coming in and doing their presentations. And I'd just like to thank all the citizens of Brick Township for recycling. The residential recycling is going very well. I'm very excited. We're saving a lot of money for the town. We're still working on the condos and the schools with the Public Works Department. And we're visiting our next condo complex we're going to is Winding River. So we're going to various different areas out there and getting brochures out there, passing them out for us once we get the brochures to them. I'm very excited. And I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. We did have a good crowd come out tonight, and I do want to thank everyone for their budget presentations and coming out and speaking on behalf of the topics that are important to them. I hope everyone comes out for a walk for humanity. I think it'll be something really great for our town in the coming years as well. We do have more budget presentations next week. We do have Department of Public Works, Parks and Recreation, and our Building Department. With that, our next meeting is April 15th, next Tuesday, 7 o'clock. And motion to adjourn, please.
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.